Is Chris joining? And I haven't heard from him to say that he wouldn't be.
He's got caller ID, Ted. You got use somebody else's phone.
Is it star 69? There's something that you can punch
Yeah,
in
there
for.
it used to be.
That's getting the last call, but there is one. I remember.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, we should try it.
Yeah, what the command is. All right. Well, hopefully he'll join and we can get started. Okay. Well, Ted, you're the headliner. Mutual aid agreement between fire EMS departments and the
He
Utah
doesn't have a
Utah
mic.
County. Just a reminder to everyone to turn your mics.
So the several of the Utah County departments have had a mutual aid agreement in place for at least 10 years, probably longer. But the agreement that was last put in place for mutual aid between the Utah County communities was about 10 years ago. So this is kind of updating the mutual aid agreement. And this allows with certain provisions for communities to support each other through mutual aid or other provisions. To some extent at no cost, and others that if it's an extended event, then you work out the costs and stuff like that. So this is kind of an updated mutual aid agreement. It'll be signed by all of the participating Utah County fire departments and EMS departments. It was spearheaded by Chief Hales out of Spanish Fork. It's been reviewed by several attorneys from all the communities. And from what I just heard from Jody, our attorney has reviewed it and signed it because it's asking for signature. So that's what this is. It's an update to our mutual aid agreement with a lot of fire and EMS departments.
Great, thank you. Anybody have any questions or comments?
So the person who signs it is the mayor, the city recorder, and the attorney's
Yeah.
office of each city.
Yes. And what each city will sign it, and then they'll CC all the other communities involved when they send it. So in the end, we'll have agreement with every signature page from every community.
And does it matter which order ours is signed? Does it have to be signed by our attorney first before you sign it?
No, it was more a matter of timing. We just didn't want to have to delay, like if we could get the attorneys to at least, I wasn't necessarily expecting their signature page, but we were just making sure they were comfortable with it. But they sent us a signature page, so
Oh, good.
I don't think.
So that's really done then.
Yeah, the attorney signed it.
Okay.
So we just need the mayor's signature and recorder's signature,
Yeah.
and we could be the first ones to return this. I haven't,
Wow,
haven't
let's
seen
do
any
that.
others go back yet.
That would mean something.
Yeah.
Huh.
So,
All right.
It's a good document. I've read it.
And
yeah,
zero
I read through it.
questions.
What's that?
Zero questions. We received a lot of mutual aid during the fires,
Yeah. Oh, no question.
and it's been good to pay that back a little bit.
So
And-
this is automatic aid as well, which is like Salem that responds to their ambulance, every call. We go with Ryan Eldridge.
Search and rescue.
I hate. to
What
make
he's
this,
saying is
you
it's-
know, these
it-
things are being recorded.
It includes automatic aid as well because so what they do is when there's call outs, the dispatch has stacks, they call them. And so when there's a call out for certain calls in communities, other communities are automatically called to respond. So for example, we had a fire call the other night, 2 nights ago, Sunday night. There were 4 other departments that were called to respond with us. And because of the type of call that was called out, it varies who responds depending on the nature of the call. But because that was called out as basically a structure fire, potentially, we had 4 other engines called, 3 departments and 4 engines.
Nice.
So to support us. So that's the automatic aid. And then when, like Brian said, when Elk Ridge is called, we're on their stack. We automatically get paged whenever they have a structure type fire called out.
And every incident's different. Sometimes we'll go to another city and we're first on scene. You know, and you look at each other like, okay, you're I see.
Yeah.
You know, but anyway, it's a great program.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, no, I think
So-
it's great. All right, thank you.
Oh, Mayor, could we jump to number 3? Becca had to go pick up her
Oh.
kids right at 6, so
Yeah.
she's going to get here as soon as she can, but
Yeah, no,
Ted's sitting here anyway.
no, makes sense. All right. Well, if you're prepared, Ted, we move on to, you don't actually have.
Is there anything, I was gonna say, if I had to prepare something, I'm way behind.
No one told you about your 10-minute.
10-minute
statement,
speech?
but,
Thinking if we have any questions.
I can,
However, I do have several emails that I need to forward to you.
yeah, I'll bet. I'll bet. I can guess the nature of them. And from who?
Hey, he's not official yet. Okay,
Yeah.
come on.
I've already got 2,
Have you?
so just waiting.
I've
All
got
right,
it.
well, that didn't
From-
take as long
Yeah.
as maybe you'd hope then, but anybody have any questions that they want
I
to?
mean, do you have like, your goals, your hope, you have like your,
My
What's
dreams.
your platform?
what's your platform?
So I live by saying, if you can't make it, fake it. So I'll fake it as long as I can, and then no, I'm just kidding. No, I think this is the way I've kind of described this to others when I've been trying to describe what the role is I think the city is in that process of going from kind of the small town, let's just everybody pitch in and tackle things, to now we need to kind of formalize our processes. We need to cross our T's, dot our I's, make sure we got the right management structure in place, the right planning in place to prepare our budgets. So my hope is that ultimately we structure the departments to be managed through the planning and budgeting process to tackle the tasks that need to be accomplished. So rather than just being kind of reactive to things that need to be done, take a more proactive approach and plan and budget and then systematically tackle them. That's the short of what I think the plan is.
So, I mean, when you were working with Jones and DeMille, you were our then contracted engineer. The firm still is, or the organization still is. So who is our liaison with you from their organization?
So the
They dedicated one person to us, like you were dedicated to us.
Right. There is one point of contact. So, there's going to be various people involved from the firm depending on the need because they all have different specialties. Our main point of contact is the team leader down there, who is Matt Lorendo. And he has been the team leader there for quite a while. While I was more regionally focused, he's kind of locally focused on the team. So he'll manage the team and then allocate resources as needed. Probably the advantage I have is I know a lot of the people and what they're going to be doing. So I think there's a lot of this I can help coordinate
Well,
with the
Matt
right
would be
people.
The main person though, if we say we need something and we're talking with you about it, then you would be going to Matt first as our,
Or at least include him in the discussions. Yes.
that they would maybe pick one particular person.
Yeah. Yeah. For example, we have 2 scope items that I'm already working on that Jones and DeMille will be doing. One of them is our stormwater management plan that was funded by FEMA. That's a guy out of the Richfield office who does all that type of work. Really good at it. Name's Ricky. I'll be coordinating a lot with him, just keeping Matt in the loop with what's going on. And then also we talked about a pavement management plan. There's another guy who specializes in that out of Richfield named McLean. And so I'll be
Did you say pavement?
pavement management
Okay,
plan.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's a way to get a handle on the roads and
Right.
what the needs are and budgets and stuff like that. How to tackle those in prioritized approach.
So pavement management plan, and what was the first one?
Stormwater management
Yeah,
plan.
stormwater.
Mhm. This is so we can figure out how to manage our floodwaters from damaging properties outside the
You
city.
just send them down the 3 rivers. I mean, they've already got the name.
Yeah, there you go. One pipeline that picks up all our stormwater and heads that way. Yeah. They're going to have some golf courses. They're going to have ponds. They're going to need the water.
Yeah.
So a couple questions I have. And again, the main reason for these questions is not to question competency at all. Definitely no, no, no. It's more, I understood what the structure was before and how we kind of had things structured. So I'm interested in, okay, how are we going to structure it now? So I know that we had Sunrise doing most of the building inspections. And then we also had Corbett, who was doing all of our water testing and so forth. So I'm just kind of curious how those, at least those two, but also if you just wanted to speak generally about, roles and responsibilities and how
Sure.
those are being divvied up.
Sure. So right now, I've actually been doing the water testing. So I've just been going out during the days, early mornings or late nights when I'm in town, and weekends. I had a nice chat Sunday morning with Doral because I was gone all day Saturday, so I had to go out and do them Sunday to have them done for the week. But the approach that I would think about, and obviously this is going to be a little dynamic as I start to learn more of these processes, but you've got really kind of two main and probably even three different areas you got to be working in. One's going to be the building side, and we have Sunrise that's hired to do the inspections. So the role there of building officials to make sure that process is happening correctly, and then sign off on the occupancy permits. That's a role that I think we've got the structure in place. It's just figuring out the process as building official, how we handle the inspections. I know Corbett was doing some of the reviews, so we're going to have to see if that continues, or if we. I don't know that Sunrise really wanted to do the reviews. They didn't want to take the role of building official, but will they do some of these, like we do these gas diagram checks and stuff like that? Can we pass that along to them? So it'll be managing that process and then still having them in place to do the inspections on the public works side, which is the other aspect of it. My hope is initially, I'm just kind of trying to fill in the need right now with everything that needs to be done because we have to keep up on water testing because that's state required and stuff like that. So I'm just kind of stepping in, trying to do all that. The other one is blue staking, and there's quite a few of those requests that come through. So my thought is that once we figure out, or once I get in and get a chance to get a handle on all the requirements of that public works area, I really believe it's going to take another person that would be hired as the public works employee to handle the sampling and the blue stakes and just those day-to-day things, because I think there's going to be enough involved in managing all that, right? So I think we're really going to have someone else involved there. And one of the things that I would propose is that we probably will look for that before too long. Either that, or my fear is getting so wrapped up in trying to just keep up with all that we end up right back where we were, and us being reactive to just try and fill holes.
Keep in mind, Dave is a good interim anything.
Yeah.
Past, if we had a water main break and, one of the residents calls us and says, oh my gosh, it's after hours and I don't know who to call, right? So we direct those to you, obviously, but you're not the guy in the holes like Corbett was, so who's going to be in the hole with Ben?
So another great question. Ben can handle it. I think we're good.
We could be close there.
So my approach to this, especially in the immediate need, is that we will send out an RFP, and we will invite 3 contractors to give us pricing. We'll invite any contractor to send us pricing. We'll select 3 of all those that send it, and those 3 will be on-call contractors for waterline repairs. In the interim, because right now had I think me and others, the mayor and others worried that since there's a gap between Corbett's end time and my begin time, I actually called a couple of contractors and asked them to be on call while we're in this period. So we've got a few right now just as an emergency on call, but I would like to make it official through the RFP process and get 3 of them that are on call that we can call 24 hours a day. So if you don't have one, you call another. If he's not available, call another. And hopefully by the 3rd, you've got a crew on their way. And then we'll figure out how to work in a public works employee with that when we get one.
So question I probably should have asked a while ago, but I'm just now thinking of it. So you are Public Works Director. Why not just city manager?
Because that would require legislative changes. So, I mean, if that's what the council wants to do, and they want to appoint a city manager. But, I mean, the thing is I don't want to do the old bait and switch on Ted either, where, we get him in as the public works director and city engineer,
I
and then
think
all
we
of a
can
sudden
do
he's the
that.
city manager.
Well, there's so much more
just
to
think
city
there's-
management
I was gonna
than
say,
just public
city,
works. It's
city management.
two different roles.
is, you got a lot of financial, you got a lot of, I mean, there's,
It's more
I don't-
administrative.
at least right now, I would highly recommend you not combine those ideas. Now, a year from now, 2 years from now, you can revisit it, but right now, I'd say let's get our, like, what we really need and have needed for years is a public works department. And we got to focus on building that. Build that, then you can make other decisions, but don't make other decisions until you do that.
I would concur with that. I think that's the need right now is getting the public works and engineering and those. I mean, often those positions can grow into city manager. And that's exactly what happened in Salem is their city engineer is now their city manager and they hired another engineer. At some point that could be a possibility, but I would agree. I think right now we got to organize this public works arena and
That answers my question. Thank
Yeah.
you.
All right, anything else?
I would just make it obvious that there are certain things Ted does that take priority over everything. And we need him on a fire incident, for example, and he's typically our leader on all of our calls that he goes on. So he may be doing something for one of you or for the city and that goes off and he's needed elsewhere right away.
Right,
If he would agree with that.
And that is something that we do need to make sure that we also, I mean, in terms of, if there's a public works emergency and a fire emergency, I mean, obviously there could be some
Yeah, if
challenges.
some
but-
car hits a fire hydrant,
Yeah,
because now all of a sudden you've got to shut off
That's
water
true.
at the same time that you're dealing with an EMS
An injury perhaps.
injury. So it's going to be, I mean, I trust Ted to be smart enough to figure
Yeah.
out where to put
Yeah.
himself.
I mean, I have
he
full
will.
confidence that he will.
well, I'm glad you guys do because I didn't think about that scenario. So now I'm no,
Sorry.
no. I mean, the obvious thing is depending on who's responding, you could always turn someone over to an assistant chief or something like that to handle that, or EMS captain while you're shutting off water. And then, anyway, I'm sure we can work through it. But yeah, but you're right. In the event that I'm having some public works, something other than an emergency going on, if there is a response necessary for life safety, I will take priority. We'll take priority on what I'm doing.
Well, I think that your vision that you've laid out already contemplates that too. I mean,
Yeah.
you are looking to have a successor. You're looking to find your replacement. And that person will ideally be the one that would step in when you're taking.
Yeah, succession planning is always key in any career.
Especially in small cities. And again, that's the part that always made me nervous before. So I wholeheartedly endorse you doing that.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay, well, I think that you're excused.
Nope.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ted.
Okay, back to item 2 then. We ready?
Yep, we're ready.
Okay, request to modify driveway, Dylan and Becca Dewey. And representing the Deweys, I guess
Yep.
it is you.
Yep.
Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, so Dylan put all this together and he's out of town, so I am sitting in for him and halfway know what I'm talking about.
That's all we needed.
Perfect. And Ben's here and he
We
said
can fill
he'll
in the gaps.
he'll fill in the gaps for me.
So mostly it's, what are we looking to do?
So can I ask a silly question to start?
I think-
Just because I read everything. And, but I don't recall these coming before the council before.
Yeah,
Is that a
I,
relatively new process? Because before it was just, you went to the variance committee, which that's what we used before. Now we've got a variance official. But if they approved it, it was done. So I'm not sure what we're doing right now.
well, and Ben, correct me, sorry, I got to read your name.
Becca.
Becca, sorry.
Yeah.
So the variance was granted, but my understanding is that the driveway is still in excess of the slope that our city ordinance requires. So what is being requested here tonight is an exception to that. and Wayne is the one that informed me of this ordinance and this option, so he can probably speak better to it than I can, but it is something that's it's in our code, and it is a provision that is allowed to directly petition
Directly petition the
the
council.
council, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We
There's-
just haven't done it.
There's, there's two processes that can be followed. One is to go before the variance officer and request a variance. And specifically in our ordinance for variance only for the driveway slope, it allows somebody to come before the city council. So you don't have the authority for variances in general, only for the slope of a driveway. And they have already been to the variance officer designated and went through that process. And what they attempted to do didn't work. And with meeting, there was a variance given with putting, I don't mean to speak for you, but just
Please do.
again, to
Speak for
to give
them.
you a little background. There was a variance given to start the driveway at the property line, thinking
Instead of
that,
25 feet. from the
correct,
property line.
thinking in doing that it would allow sufficient room to meet the slope. And it hasn't. So since they've already been through that process, spent the money to do that, then their thinking was with taking this other option and coming before the city council and making the presentation to the city council for further consideration. So that's kind of the background on it.
It's just not, basically, there's not enough distance to get the slope to lower because it goes down the hill so far. And this is as far back as the setback where the house can be. And they've extended the driveway over it as far as they can to the property line, but it still isn't enough with the grade to make it feasible then to drive into the driveway without that increased slope in the middle.
So
Correct.
where-
I went over and walked
Yeah.
around and looked, and
It was our only option and it still doesn't meet the variance really, so.
So I see the one picture that shows 20%. Is that where we think we're gonna land, or are we gonna
That's
be more? in-
Where we land.
So that is what we've calculated, that's
Mhm.
gonna be
just
the slope.
The one tiny part, that's the steepest
That's
part.
the
It's,
steepest point.
yeah,
then it kind of
Thanks,
levels out right to the driveway. There's just
and levels out at the
at
road.
the
It's
top
just
and
that
there,
very
and there's
middle.
one little spot in the
Yeah.
middle.
You're gonna have fun in the winter.
Hey, our current driveway is on that map and it's 20 and I
This
actually,
is their current home.
yeah, doesn't bother us. The one we currently have is 20 like the whole way and way longer. So this one seems, I'm like, this isn't very steep, but
Yeah. And then the other question I have is, let's say we do grant this variance. Does that somehow get added to, I don't know, the property somewhere so that when a title person is, if they happen to sell it, the buyers are notified that there was a variance that was given for that particular?
Oh, really?
Oh, it's not? I was under the impression that it would follow the property in some capacity.
Well, it'll
maybe
be on
not
the plat. If there's a change to the plat, it'll be on the plat. And there, but most people don't know when they look at a plat what they're looking at, so they wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
But there's something called a seller's disclosures, right? Our infamous ones that didn't disclose things.
Yeah.
There's seller's disclosures, so the sellers would have to, they can disclose things like that. There's a lot of very specific questions.
we're going to live here.
And
it's
forever,
not
so-
something to hide.
And we look at that, the
Yeah.
topography of that area, and you can see the house next door is 22, the house across the street's 23, the other homes on the other side where you currently live off of
20.
Mountain Vale, they're in the 20s. So it's kind of just the slope of that whole side of town. It's not unique to their driveway, so I don't really see a problem with it.
And go
No,
ahead.
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, one thing that we talked a little bit about, as far as the slope requirements in our ordinance, my understanding at least is that relates to the ability of first responders to access. And so the one area of concern that I have, I was thinking when it comes to lawsuits. Is that I just want to make sure, to the extent possible, that there is some perhaps qualification if the council does elect to allow for this. I don't think it would be a variance. I think it would,
It's a modification.
yeah. Is that
So it's a modification of the building, what's the term there, Jody? It's a build, it's not an ordinance. Where does this building? Yeah,
So
but
it's a modification.
it's not in our ordinances, it's in our building
Building
standards. And so it's a modification of that standard for this particular address.
Right. And so anyway, the point I was making is that I do think there may be some value, especially if you're talking about subsequent buyers. If a first responder isn't able to access, we just want to make sure that the city, in granting this, is not then putting itself in jeopardy of some sort of lawsuit. So that would just be something that I would say perhaps we could look at tacking on to, this, what's the word again?
Standard.
Modification is.
Modification, yeah, modification, that effectively waives liability if there is an inability to access the property based on the slope of the driveway. And Beck, I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I'm not trying to just spring this on you, but that is one area of concern that I did get here.
Well, because that slope distinction wasn't always in our city, so a lot of the lower part of town that are on the steeper hills have 20 or above on their things. And I wanted to ask Ted, have we noticed that there's been a problem with any of the driveways on this side, of town, where there are quite a few that are over, or 20 or over? Have you noticed that? Because I still see you coming on calls, and I haven't noticed it, but I'm not on the call.
Yes, please.
You can have this.
So we have responded to some calls over there. Most times when it's our fire engine going, we don't go down the driveway either. We pull our hoses to the house, right? So we aren't going to take a fire truck down there generally. Now that could change case by case, but generally not. If it's an EMS call, we do take the ambulance down the driveway, usually Salem, because they're the ones transporting. Sometimes we do as well, but and so that's usually the vehicle that will go down the driveways. I would say in most cases, our ambulances, even they may chug getting out of there on steeper driveways, but they still make it fine. For the most part, we've got roads in town steeper than 20% that we chug up.
If they can get around Sky Lake Corner.
Yeah, we get a run on that one. But the only time that really is sometimes concerning is if there are obviously ice. Because if you're steep driving, and the concern is not so much, well, I guess it can be two-part, but especially if you're going down an icy driveway, towards a house, the ability to be able to stop. So we just salt the heck out of them if we show up. We usually take our brush truck because we have got several steep driveways. So I would say it's not something that we're unaccustomed to, and we can likely handle. We found ways to do it. Said we just either
We've even snow blowed.
we've snow blowed them,
We
we've
have
shoveled them, we salt the heck out of them.
Snowplow driver to come and help.
We yeah,
But
yeah.
most likely it'll be Dylan being called. The call will be for Dylan, right? He'll have gotten hurt somehow.
Yeah, yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, obviously, we the difference between a 15 and 20 is probably not going to make a whole lot of difference to our response, I guess is where I'm going.
Okay. And I don't want to overcomplicate it,
Yeah.
but, it is just something that I want to make sure that, if we're sort of outside the lines, that, it doesn't come back like this. So,
And I wouldn't see, I mean, if the owners are agreeable, tacking some sort of just condition on there that, if emergency response because of this variance is not able to be as responsive, that it's no liability on the city. Or if for some reason we slide down the driveway and hit the house or something.
so Becca, what would you think about something like that? And if you want to think it over, that's fine too. But I'm just curious if sort of carving, I mean, and again, in my mind, it would be something that would be strictly limited to if the slope changed the scenario such that it made it, you know, more dangerous that they couldn't come down and they couldn't stop or whatever, that,
You can't sue the city, basically.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, no, not you, but maybe a subsequent homeowner.
I mean, what I'm hearing is it probably wouldn't make a difference. It probably wouldn't change it. So I would prefer we not have to complicate it and tack that on there. I know, I mean, I told Ben, your job's to make our driveway as steep as possible. That was obviously our goal, and we tried everything, and this was as least steep as we possibly could. So it's not like we're trying to get a variance because, I mean, there's no other option is the bottom line. That's what we had
I'd
to
like
do.
to, if I can, I'd like to give a little bit of the history of what we went
Thanks, Ted.
through to make this house, because one of the variances is for elevation of the home, is so that we can pull that sucker out of that hole as much as possible, mostly due to flood and debris flows potentially coming into the driveway. Because the original plan to get it down for our height variance was the driveway, the garage was actually going to be higher than the main floor of the house, which causes all sorts of potential problems for flooding and damage and things of that nature. So what we actually did is we got the variance that we can actually shift it back to a normal position of garage slightly lower than the main floor. But when we excavated, we scratched off as little land as we could. In the packet, you'll actually see where the natural grade of the home is. And it's like 8 feet. The natural grade's like 8 feet below the basement slab on the back of the home. So to get to that, we ended up having to do massive foundational structures to get down to the compactable material to keep that as high as possible, whereas you usually would dig down to that natural compacted material to be able to get that foundation going. Because of that, we then, it required 23 loads of 20 ton each of pea gravel so that bottom slab would not settle as much. So basically, it was around about a $50,000 bump to cost to try and make that driveway as non-steep as possible, right? So this is the very last attempt that we are trying to make to get this thing to work after we've exhausted all other options to not have to get to this point. And that's really the main point, is this is the last potential option. The only way, if the council decides, hey, you do have to get to 15%, I think we're actually going to be in a worse situation than a 20%, because I think you'd have to pull almost a straight line from the street straight into the garage, versus having it kind of bank a little bit down and then flatten out before it gets to the garage. So that way, if you have an EMS ambulance, they're parked on a slope of 15% the whole way, versus being able to get down that 20 and hit a flat area to be able to actually work.
We need a flat area.
So
You
and that would put all the water right in the garage every flood, no matter how big of a drain I put in the front of that driveway, which I am. This is literally the best possible situation for this lot, for what we discussed with the variance committee. And, back to David's question, that's kind of why we're here now instead of going back to the variance committee.
Okay. Anybody have any other comments or
My
questions?
my earlier question was just to ask Ted's input on this, and we got it. So
I mean, with all of the other driveways around being as steep as they are as well, we didn't have any of them sign some sort of a disclosure or anything. So it seems to be pretty standard through our city. I can't remember another time when the councils had to approve something like this, at least in the last decade, that we had them sign anything in addition. So it seems almost targeted to have one citizen do it and none of the rest.
No, and believe me, I'm not dying on that hill. I just wanted to raise the
Yeah,
issue.
and that's
It's
why
your
I just
decision.
brought it up too, is, you know.
no.
No. But it is asphalt, so that it should help retain a little bit more heat, a little bit easier for snow removal and ice removal. And like I was talking earlier with someone, and I personally would be a little more concerned if this was somebody who came from a tropical climate moving for the first time into Woodland Hills. But, you know,
Dylan was raised here.
Dylan's lived here
Yeah,
forever. He
And I
knows.
respect that, but
Mhm.
honestly, you can't think that way.
Well,
You-
I get
because-
it. It's just a variable in the decision.
You have to think about, the 3 or 4 people down the road who might own that house.
Agreed.
All right, well,
Thank you.
unless there's other questions. Thanks, Becca.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Blair.
Hey, well, I guess we had our window with Senator McKell. He's bailed.
Are we gonna have another citizen complaint?
Oh, yeah. Of course. He could have applied for a variance and he didn't. But yeah, be another quiver in his bag of complaints.
It'll be on the Facebook page tomorrow.
Probably.
Right
I feel
there.
like I was doing the work of the city council.
Well, thank you.
Really?
My entrance in Spanish Fork in the law office has a great big pothole. And the guy was telling me, I can't just fix the pothole. He says, I've got to tear out the entire entryway and re-asphalt the whole thing. So, and I know those are the type of calls that you guys get
Yeah.
in the city council. So I love it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Did you get your pile fixed then?
No, but you know, I think I'm going to get a bid that probably scares me.
Well, you
but
could do what we did, stick sandbags in it.
I like that. You know, if all those people, I blame the people at Denny's. They all drive through, and the volume of the traffic through our parking lot is Denny's. And I'm sure when we go to them and ask for help fixing the pothole, they're going to say no.
They'll jump on it.
Well, maybe Wiggy Wash too. Is your drive or is your parking lot?
They don't come through. We're close, but they don't
Okay.
come through.
Huh.
A hotel a little bit.
Oh,
And Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah, they don't come through. Thankfully, we'd really be in trouble.
yeah, that's a lot of traffic there.
Yeah, I think they could build. Well, I think there's another one coming. So
Either another car wash, just what Spanish Fork needs is another car
I
wash.
think we'll have 7 full-service car washes. So.
No
They're all
complaints here.
Let's see if we can get, I think Woodland Hills ought to go straight to a chicken shop and car wash combined at the bottom of the hill by the church. Like, why not put them all together all at once?
Yeah.
How many chicken places do we have?
We call that Three Rivers.
I think you
Three
should.
bridges.
Three
Like,
Bridges, sorry.
I'm thinking everybody from Spanish Fork would come to Woodland Hills, a chicken place and a car wash. Car wash, chicken drive-through
You make your order at the beginning and you pick it up at the end.
at the end.
And we don't plow in between. Makes it more exciting.
Well, I'm just glad I didn't hit a deer coming up here and having
Yeah.
Woodland Hills Drive shut down.
Yeah.
You know, this deer in the rut, they're running all over the place out there.
Yeah,
they
right
are.
now.
Everywhere right now.
They're
So
You might hit one on the way down. So.
it's the worst time of year for deer doing dumb things. So
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you coming and joining us, and I
Thank you.
think that the objective here was just to kind of get a sense as to a legislative update, and maybe if there's anything in particular that might impact our city, we would love to, see
Right.
what's coming our way.
Let me kind of tell you the things that we're kind of
Yeah,
concerned about.
I mean, I'd love to hear what you guys are worried about going into legislative session. I think our budget's fairly flat. Some of the reporting says we're upside down. We're not. We're about $150 million up, but we've stored away a lot of significant funds that do matter. Money that would matter for like a city like Woodland Hills. We have a large amount of money for fire if we need it. After the fires that happened in the past, the state got wise and we stockpiled large sums of money that are there in savings. Obviously, we have rainy day dollars. The economy here doesn't seem to be slowing. We continue to see our data unemployment rate is extremely low. Things that we work on here is just diversifying our economy more than anything else. I spent some time in Mexico with the governor with several of our companies that manufacture in Asia, and they're considering nearshoring to diversify with some of the problems in China to be closer in Mexico. It was interesting, and it does have an impact in Utah. The projects in Monterey, they had 240-ish projects from the U.S., 40 projects from China. But some of our companies that were with us were building facilities. Tesla was really quick to brag. They had a $6 billion facility they're building when we mentioned Texas Instruments is doing a $12 billion project, that kind of caught them off guard. I think I do worry about you with infrastructure. Elk Ridge Drive obviously was closed. I know Woodland Hills Drive. I know Elk Ridge Drive is finally going to punch through. I haven't seen a good traffic plan to see how you connect into that, but you're still a little more isolated than Elk Ridge. I mean, on the flip side, your entryway into Woodland Hills is much better than the entryway into
Got fixed
Elk
yesterday.
Ridge.
Just yesterday.
Good.
So you came up on the right day. Didn't
And you got box elder bugs. That's what I have at my house.
Yeah.
By the
Make
thousands.
that part of your legislative.
Yeah, fix
Get
priority.
rid of them.
Yeah, ban them.
My guy that sprays says he can't. They don't kill them, so we never worry about it. We just live with them
Yeah.
everywhere. But I think we're going to have a good session. I think it's going to be fairly quiet. A lot of the big ARPA money, it's gone, so you're not going to have the fight for money. The appropriation requests seem to be going down. We are considering big water infrastructure, and one of the things we do, and this could impact certainly South Utah County. One of the things that we've always done is we create a building board to prioritize building projects. Higher ed, the higher ed buildings go through that building board project. We do the same thing with road and road prioritization, and we're looking at big water projects and how to build a bank to do that. So it's not who's got the legislator that can get the project done this year. So there's a more formal process.
Just state water projects?
That's going to be
or
dam
municipal?
safety, lakes, big water projects across the
So
state.
Nothing with regards to helping municipal government.
Not yet,
with
not
their
yet, not yet.
Infrastructure.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any good tax base bill that's going to provide any relief unless we can get the chicken shop in, guys. I think we need to get this done.
Or Kara gets her lottery.
We are not going to pass the lottery. I can tell you that right now. The odds of passing the lottery are about the same as passing pari-mutuel betting, pretty close to zero. So that's really
That was
unfortunate.
your baby.
No, Senator Hinkins, but I thought it was a great idea.
Pari-mutuel betting. I remember that came up in '92, right? I mean,
Did.
right as I was about to.
It got struck down.
There was a picture of.
Ironically, the Supreme
Joseph
Court,
F.
we're
Smith
getting
something
way
about
out in the weeds, but
lotteries.
ironically, the Utah Supreme Court has ruled that it's not a game of chance. The Constitution bans any form of gambling, but the Supreme Court of Utah has held that pari-mutuel betting is not a game of chance. I don't know how that works. That's the most weird
'Cause it's
ruling.
a trained horse.
No,
right?
it's total nonsense. Of course, it's a game of chance. Of course, it's gambling, but that's not what the Supreme Court determined. So they make really bizarre decisions. That was one of them. But one of the things that I watch careful every session, one of the things that I care about is infrastructure and how we best represent South Utah County. On the list last year, we did get some funding for Santaquin's interchange. Payson's interchange is coming. We've got that funded. You've got study money for Spanish Fork Center Street. As much as that doesn't seem like a Woodland Hills issue, when I came down and had to take the diversion to get up Woodland Hills Drive, I had to get down on Main Street through Salem, and it is remarkable the amount of traffic down on that highway that comes from Elk Ridge, Woodland Hills, Salem. And I think once you punch out on Center Street, I think that helps. We should be breaking ground on the 1400 North interchange in Spanish Fork. We're trying to realign the railroad as well along Highway 6. We just got a number of projects that we're looking at.
Just so you guys know where that is, that's the interchange that will be by the new hospital.
Yeah.
There'll be a new.
Tim
exit
Dolly
there.
Ford. Yeah, there's already an overpass. They should have broken ground this summer. I don't know what the delay is, but that's moving forward. So lots of infrastructure down below, but we try to stay out of your business up here. I think there'll be an ADU bill. I don't know what that'll look like. I don't know if it'll have impact or not. If it does, Carrie will give me grief, or the mayor, and we'll work on it. But I think you'll see an ADU bill of some
We
sort.
already have one.
Yeah, I think they're still concerned that it's being blocked in certain cities. And I learned that Provo City randomly has, you can have your own version of an apartment if you're 65 and older, but if you're younger, you can't. And I don't know what the rational basis would be for that in the law. So, I mean, weird issues like that. And
Student housing, they don't want students just in.
well,
homes
and we've
everywhere.
got ADU issues up in Logan, and sometimes what I worry about is if we're going to do something that impacts students in Logan, let's make sure it doesn't impact people in Woodland Hills. And I'm always aware of the fact that when we legislate, it impacts the whole state. We can do things based on class of county, but you know, you guys are more rural, but you're in a first class county, so we've always got to be
Still second class.
aware.
a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're a fifth class city and a second class county. A lot of legislation is. And when people hear that we're a fifth class city, they're like, well, you should have access to, but we're not because we're in a second class county. And so like infrastructure for water projects, et cetera, that quote unquote rural Utah can get, St. George can get some funding for their city that we can't get.
Right.
Even
Well,
though.
tell me what you guys are worried about. What's on your minds going into this next session? I know if I get out of line, David's going to email me, and that's good. The election is not last Tuesday. I saw your post. Somebody sent it to me, and I was going to call and give you three.
I edited it.
It was good. It was good.
Well, so basic concerns. One, I hate what I call just statement bills.
Yeah, you and I both.
Absolutely hate them.
Mhm.
So please avoid them at all.
I don't run them. I don't run those types of bills. I don't run social fights.
Yeah.
We have too many big issues for me to spend time on issues like that.
The other issue that I have actually does have to do with some of these funding things. You know,
Mhm.
we've applied, the way it's perceived, whether this is reality or not is a different issue. But the
Mhm.
way it's perceived is that, for instance, last year there was an awful lot of water money
Mhm.
and it got eaten up way before it even got anywhere near us. When we have a project that's already planned, ready to go, to do $2 to $3 million worth of water piping throughout the
Right,
city,
right.
and we can't get the money because it gets eaten up by Salt Lake, Provo.
Well, and a lot of it
Spanish.
got eaten up by metering and then agriculture optimization. But that's a good point.
So here's what I'm wondering is there, I mean, I realize that it's the same, it's basically the sales tax fight all over again. Is you've got big cities with big political clout and they want their piece of the pie to be as big as it possibly can be. Meanwhile,
Served first.
small cities get the little sliver and we constantly get that sliver eaten away from us.
Right.
So how, as a state, now I'm thinking statewide, how do we as a state create a pie that everyone can live with, but that doesn't leave your smaller cities with nothing?
Well, I think we review it again. I think it's probably due for review. I mean, what we did in the past was online sales tax, so you started to actually reap some of the benefit of that. I mean, that was a fight forever, and then a number of people that hated that idea. I mean, you guys saw an impact. I don't know what your budget is that you get from online sales, but I mean, you guys are down spending your money at Costco and Spanish Fork, and I'm reaping the benefit of that, and all of Central Utah does that, and I don't think that's fair. We have parceled off some of it, and I don't know how far we could go. That's an issue. I always say, well, work it through the League of Cities and Towns, and they're just so conflicted because they've got so many different.
They have the same conflicts that the legislature has in that
They do.
sense.
They do.
And again, I'm talking like the water.
What does
drain,
Woodland Hills? What do you bring in on online sales tax now?
It's between 50 and 60,000 a year.
Thought it'd been higher.
It did bump up though. I mean, it did go up with the.
During COVID,
Did.
Yeah.
it was.
Well, I bet it went way up in COVID.
Well, the hardest part there is the fact that there's each time they build a new Amazon fulfillment center in Utah,
Yeah.
we don't get a piece of that online sale.
That's point of sale is in Utah, so wherever that fulfillment center is. gets
So
the
the only
tax.
way we get it
Is
is
if it's
if
shipped
it
from
comes
out
from
state.
Nevada or California or
Out of
Seattle.
state.
All right, I'm gonna look into that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's point of sale, so if it's in the state,
Hmm.
that sale is then recorded in that city or county. And so we only get that if it comes across state borders.
But I will say, if it's a fragile agreement right now, let's not poke a bear that then puts it in the
Raises-
process.
Now we need to poke it. This one
Well,
we need
but
to
it-
poke.
But what I'm
You
saying
don't
is,
wanna
what-
lose what
yeah,
we're
what if
already
we
getting.
lose what we're
You're
getting?
not gonna lose
because
what you're
It's
getting.
an unpopular,
won't.
from what I'm hearing, it's an unpopular, it was an
Well, it
unpopular
was,
bill.
it was a Supreme Court decision and then.
Well, we ran it over and over. And
Yeah.
we got
It's
hammered
solid.
by like Libertas Institute, Americans for Prosperity, and I mean, but we got hammered based on who their donors were, right? That's what people. That's one of my frustrations. We get hammered by a group. I mean, I can tell you, Libertas Institute, their big issue coming to the next session is they want mushrooms, and
Psychedelic mushrooms.
that to me, there's a lot of issues that are much more important than that, but it's because they have a donor. And sometimes we lose track of that. And maybe mushrooms are good or bad, but that's why, I mean, it's based on who the donor is at the time. And I think sometimes we miss that with some of these groups, whether it's the Utah Taxpayers Association, it's really a lot of those policies that they push in the legislature based on who their donors are. And you don't really get to see who those donors are. You know, you've got a senator, a U.S. Senator Republican who wants to change that, but I don't think he's going to get anywhere. We'll see.
Make it more transparent.
Make it more transparent. I think it should be. I think it totally should be, but we'll see where that goes.
We do have a bill that I talked to you about last year that Corey Malloy's gonna run for us.
Okay.
With snow plows. I think I talked to you about that last year and we couldn't get it in. We were trying to tack on to another transportation bill. This will be separate. Talked to House majority leaders and they're all on board. Just accessory lighting. Accessory lighting isn't allowed on
Okay.
snow plows because they're not a,
And what do you mean by explain that to me? Pretend like I
light
don't.
bar, 'cause
pretend
It's
like I
the
don't-
ability, it's the ability for us to
It is
be
dark
able
up
to
there.
see.
Okay.
Because we don't have any
That's-
street lights.
so when, because we don't have streetlights or anything else, it's very dangerous when we have kids on the road.
I got you.
And there is a.
We have to.
snowplow.
We
So
have
this
to.
is what it looks like from our snowplow
We have to do a
drivers.
bill to do that.
Yes, because it's illegal to do this. So the
Alright,
sheriff
let's
asked
fix
us
that.
to run it. And then this is what it looks like if you do have the lighting.
Is that bill drafted already?
Corey and I are meeting tomorrow at the Capitol to discuss it some more. And that's what it is, looks like
Alright.
with the lighting. You can see,
Yeah,
and
let's-
it's taken
let's-
2 seconds apart.
Let's get that
So,
fixed.
Carrie Ann said that she would help it. You could be the floor
I can't
sponsor in the
believe
Senate.
we need to run a bill to allow
It's-
you to do that.
Because snow plows, municipal government snow plows are not considered
All right.
a safety
Emergency
vehicle.
vehicles.
So a school bus,
Carrie?
a law enforcement, or
You need your
a,
mic.
ambulance
Gotcha.
are considered, but a snow plow is not considered at this point.
Okay.
So we're just gonna try to see if we can.
And
fit it in
Corey's
where we
got,
need to.
and Corey's got that bill.
Yep, Corey and I are meeting tomorrow morning if you want to meet with us.
Oh, I gotta chair political subdivisions. I can't wait. It's gonna be
We're gonna
amazing.
meet at 11. If you want to meet at his office.
Well,
But I'll send you all the documentation that I sent him so that you'll know. Because
Okay.
Kay and I tried to
Well,
run it
that-
last year, but we were trying to hook it onto a bill that was.
And it's just a
already
standalone bill.
going. This will be a standalone.
Does he? I mean, is he getting opposition? I don't know. Why
There's no opposition at this point, but what the conflict is the state attorneys were saying, you're already covered, but the sheriff's office says, absolutely
Alright.
not, you're not covered. And we have people in town
But-
who
but
would like
nobody-
us to make sure that's legal.
But nobody's gonna. Well, I'd hope nobody would complain.
They already did.
They did.
That's why we get calls from the sheriff, and
All
that's
right,
why the
I'll
sheriff
just be
said-
quiet on that.
Yeah. The sheriff asked us to get this fixed.
I love living in a community, and sometimes there's a
I scoped
downside.
it out and took pictures.
Yeah. So I had the
Okay.
snowplow drivers take these pictures so that we could show you the difference and why it really is truly a safety act.
Oh, it's still,
matter.
it's
The other
absolutely.
thing is like, you probably didn't listen in on the discussion before, but a lot of times our snowplow drivers are there to lead the way to let our ambulance get down to the hospital if we're in the middle of a blizzard. So it is
Okay.
a safety vehicle for us.
I'll talk to Corey. That I don't know why. Why didn't we pass that last year?
It was hooked on with another transportation bill, and when they were trying to get it worked in, somebody from
All
like
right.
research said, we think you're covered, but
All right.
I still talked to Mike Smith and he said, no, you're not. So we just
So
got to
Sheriff Smith
how.
says we need it.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And then I still think it'd be a good idea that if you've been convicted of DUI, you get the kitty driver's license.
The kitty driver's license?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
one
they're,
that's
they're,
up like
they're
you're
this.
built
under-
different.
Man, we are way more restricted than that. I mean, you get the breathalyzer, SR22 insurance.
So here's the reason why that matters.
You have to show your ID and it looks like you're
I
a
mean,
minor right away.
there was a DUI accident just this year in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
Little kid was killed because he had gone to the liquor store and had bought liquor. Now, why did the liquor store let him buy it? Because they didn't know.
Gotcha. All right. You're gonna see on a case like that, Steve Ellison's got a bill. Brady Brammer had a bill. I've got a bill that would say that if somebody kills somebody, that they're on the hook for child support of the kids. You kill a dad in a DUI, you got to start paying child support. You'll see that came out of Texas. It's an interesting strategy.
Yeah, I don't know that that's such. I mean, I'm not going to complain about anything that stops DUI, but the hard part is you're dealing with people who don't have the kind of money to do that anyway. And so, what good is it? What you've got to do is you've got to stop the sale.
If the driver's license shows that you're underage or that you are convicted of DUIs, then liquor store wouldn't sell it to you because just by
Gotcha.
by
All right.
verification of
Nobody would
size.
sell it to you.
Because then they'd have the land.
Because you have
Oh, I
to check
wouldn't
at a
say nobody.
restaurant, you have to check everywhere, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Good idea, Dave.
I mean, it's a simple idea. We already do it for all of our kids, so it's like a no-brainer.
Yeah. Let me look at that one. All right. What else we got? This is helpful.
Senator, what would it take, if possible, to be able to have a city be able to accept commission payments?
Explain what you mean by that.
So, I mean, if there was an avenue by which a city could help promote certain goods and services, right, and be able to then be able to accept a commission for said sell. So they're not competing with business.
Give me like an example. What, I mean,
Online
So,
mall.
so for example, right, if I'm an influencer and I'm selling products online on my YouTube channel, for instance, I get a commission payment if somebody buys what I'm peddling, right?
okay.
Could a city also basically fit that role of influencer
So you're saying
To help
put stuff
facilitate-
up on our website?
or a website that the city could then get a commission cut for?
Like, just
So it's
way
another
for
avenue, revenue. It's basically how could somebody like Woodland Hills have commercial without having physical commercial? Because we're not going to be able to drive the traffic up here most likely, but we potentially could drive digital traffic.
I don't think that gets anywhere because that's just out so far outside the role of what cities should be doing. But I do think we ought to have a broader discussion about what portion of sales tax you receive. I think you have a much better shot there because you're spending a lot of money in the city that I live in, for sure.
Mhm.
Everybody in this room shows up in
Everybody.
Spanish Fork,
Everybody in our city,
for sure.
just about, yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
I think
Food.
we look at that before we. Yeah, I just don't envision a scenario where that would make you wouldn't want to open that up.
Wouldn't want an online mall instead of a brick and mortar,
An online mall run by the city,
or
or
the city would just get the sales tax of it.
It wouldn't be
The
necessarily, it'd be
business would still get
another
the-
business that
It's
could
allowed
run
to
it,
make it.
right?
Right.
And it's just another way that a small city.
I'm gonna
could
look at your
potentially
sales
generate
tax issue first. Let me
Okay.
look at that. I am curious. So you 50 to 60,000. I thought you would have been higher
We
after
do
online
a
sales tax.
lot
Well,
of
the problem is when
Amazon
when
and
I go on,
Amazon.
just probably like you,
Yeah.
you know, speed of delivery sometimes trumps price, right? If I can get it tomorrow, that means it's most likely coming from Utah. And I'm going to hit that more often than I'll hit something that's
we are
further.
giving money to the fulfillment center city. So let me follow up on that.
Yeah, no, I think that would be a great, if we could get more of that and really,
Where's
I
the
mean,
big
I do
Amazon
think that
fulfillment
ultimately
center?
it
Is
just
that
comes
like
down.
Harriman?
Yeah, they have a couple.
There's
of them.
Harriman, there's West Valley, there's
Yeah.
another one that's headed in.
Gosh, I got a bunch of Amazon
In
trucks
Provo,
in
I think.
Spanish
Yeah.
Fork by Wasatch Pallet now, and I don't think it's a fulfillment center. I think it's just
Distribution center.
those Rivian.
Mhm.
All right,
Ribbon.
you're right.
Another question that
It
we
is more. It's basically $250,000. sales and use taxes.
Right, but not,
I'm not-
that's not
he brought
entirely
up
from online sales
on-
tax. That's just our
online.
cut of the overall
Yeah.
pie. Okay, yeah, our director of
true.
finance, he's arrived and
Jumping in.
probably can give you some more precision, but,
Yeah, we're $250,000,
yeah,
but
that's not just
online.
the online sales.
That's true.
What
That's the
other
wholesale
issues do we have
tax.
up here? Are we gonna have the issue of shooting the deer or not? I know that was the Elk Ridge issue.
We have a lot of citizens that really want us to do something about
About
that.
the
But we
deer.
know what not to do now.
Yeah, they didn't manage that very well.
So one of the things that we,
I'm not getting involved in that issue in any way, just so you know.
Yeah.
like, is
Maybe I shouldn't even ask.
kind of going off of some of the legislation from last year with regards to building standards and subdivision law
Yep.
and then maybe, I won't say the word threat, but you know, the idea of binding general plans, or if you don't do this, then you don't get your B and C road funds or mandatory zoning.
Right, right.
Those kinds of things are things that as a city, you know, we're trying to do the best we can, maintain quality of life, but we know what our residents want. We're not halting building at
Well-
all, and we know there's bad actors in the state.
And what I'd
but-
say on an issue like that, if it becomes an issue, circle back with me. If it's an issue up here, I've never seen
No,
it.
it's
and-
statewide. This is what we're
but-
getting heard, the
Yeah.
reports that are coming of what's,
But you're
Bill
definitely,
files.
you're not the target of that.
no, but it would be a statewide law, so we
It
would.
would be, but by the time that bill would go through, I mean, the league is gonna look at it and you're gonna spend time with them.
spend a lot
And it'll
of
be
time.
something that groups come to with a consensus. I mean, it's gonna be a bill that targets the bad actors across the state and the good folks are, I mean, in the end, I'd be surprised if you
Well,
had
just
an
like
issue.
last year, you passed the subdivision law, which seems like it's a good thing, but it abolishes public hearings with regards to zoning changes. Well, that's a problem because as a council, we need to be able to hear from our residents to see what the impact could be to them. And if that is no longer required and a developer comes in to us and says, I want to do this and you don't have to have a public hearing, that I think can be problematic. And that passed last year and it will go into effect. And there are things that even all of us in our different experiences might think that we've thought of every scenario. There's a resident who'll come and will say, did you think of, right?
Right,
So
right.
not having public hearing is really, I think, critical. You have it in your committee meetings. We would still like to have it.
Carrie,
in there.
doesn't the planning commission still hold a public hearing?
Well, for a while, but the subdivision laws, when it changes, it will. turn
I'd just
into
say on an issue like
administrative.
that, if it becomes an issue, let me know until it becomes an issue up here.
Well, it might.
I mean,
be next
it seems
year.
like we've got a really good, great community. Seems fairly peaceful up here. If it becomes a big issue, come to me and we can work on it.
But I think right now the planning commission is still required to hold a
They
public
are,
hearing.
they are.
They are still,
So-
until our, probably, I think in the new subdivision laws that we have to adopt by 2024 December.
I think
And,
there's
and
still a
we're beating
requirement for a
up, we're
public
beating
hearing.
up cities.
Yeah,
it's
there's
just
still one
Yeah, it's
requirement
just
for a
one
public
is the
hearing.
Planning commission, and that's
Yeah.
it. So no, and that's before the preliminary. So there's nothing
Yeah.
before final.
But so far, I haven't heard a lot of complaints to that. I think
It just
streamlining
it
it,
doesn't start until.
streamlining it and having it more
This next
efficient, I
year.
think is a good thing.
It doesn't start. till
Right,
next year.
right. But if it was a big issue, I'd be hearing it by now.
It hasn't started, so it
I
won't.
mean, the
be-
reality is it's not a big issue right now because rates are so high. Building has really slowed down and everybody knows it. And once it picks back up, I mean, you guys want shocking numbers. Eagle Mountain has entitled units, 27,000. Saratoga Springs, 23,000. I mean, Payson City's got 7,000. It's insane.
The 169.
So count your blessings because it's awfully
Statewide.
quiet up here and that's a good thing. Right?
Well, we've been doing some building. Some people have.
You
backed
have,
off.
but boy, it's
We have 20 units.
Right.
it's nice that it's nice and quiet.
Yeah.
Except for the route to get here, Salem. That's why our road
I
is
don't-
always shut down.
I
It's
don't-
all the construction.
That weird angle in front of the school is just weird to me. But maybe it's good to slow it down from the
I think
school.
they're going to straighten that eventually.
All right.
They're just getting that.
But we would.
I had to
know 'cause it's
reroute.
Salem.
I had to reroute all the way to get here, and it seems like I was on that road 2 weeks ago and I could get through. Maybe I wasn't.
It
It
just closed
closed
down a
this
couple
week.
days ago.
I have a random, who's in charge of Santaquin Canyon? That thing's been closed for years. Is That
Did
was-
you see what they're doing today, though?
Yeah.
Beautiful pictures and like that retaining wall along the stream bed.
So is Santa
I'm not
City,
sure.
the mayor, is Dan? Is he
Dan is
involved in?
all over that issue, and I don't know who's paying for it.
That was
That's
my
a good question.
Who's paying for
It might have been part of their,
I'm
because
gonna
of the
find out,
damage
and I'm
after
gonna-
the fires.
I will find out and I will text you.
Okay.
But his photos of the road, I mean, it had almost like red in the rock and the gravel, and
Well, and it
his
had the
re-
layers. that
his
they were
retaining
doing.
wall was beautiful.
It may be part of their FEMA.
Let's just
after the
hope when it
floods.
washes out, it stays beautiful.
Because I mean, I lived in Santa Cruz for 8 years and
That's right.
it's
Is
a
it,
beautiful canyon.
Ted?
It is.
Yeah,
NRCS.
yeah, NRCS, that's what I meant.
Could be.
I think it's their funding after the fire is what the mayor told me.
I think they had that might
It has been going for a while. He's pretty excited. His photos today were beautiful.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool. I do like when we do roads, if we can beautify them and make them cool. I mean, cool's not the right word. We should be proud of what we
We know
build.
what you mean.
We should be
Yeah.
proud of what we build. We shouldn't go too extravagant, but we should be proud of our community and not just shortchange everything we do.
And then not let it go to rot too. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Not surrender it to.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's an
Oh.
issue.
another question.
You're not
for
getting a
you.
homeless camp. We're not talking about that. If you were the mayor of Provo, we'd discuss it, but you're not.
Well, you know, they said that they're gonna bus people up here.
You're not. They're
And I
not.
said, no,
They're
that's
not.
more money
They're
than
not.
you knew what to do with.
We are not going to bus. There will not be a homeless camp in Woodland Hills.
Hmm.
I will take,
I will.
I will take Mayor Winder to dinner anywhere he wants to go if there is a homeless camp up here that is in some way perpetuated by the government within the next 2 years. And it can be Ruth's Chris or
Well, now I'm kind of rooting.
as long as you, as long as you agree to do the
You
same
need
thing,
to
that
invite
it
your
doesn't
friends
happen.
now.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's over your limit of what you can accept.
Yeah, that was the-
That was a tough issue for Provo City. I had a bill to try to carve Provo City out during the last legislative session. I had an amendment that failed, and it was a tough issue for Provo. The Mayor Kafusi really wanted to be carved out, and to her point, when the homeless issue, when they started migrating to Provo, a lot of the original people were pretty violent, and there was it drastically increased drug use instantly, and that's why she was really, really concerned. I think it's all hands on deck. I think everybody across the state needs to be part of it where we can. Obviously that's not Woodland Hills. You're not getting a camp up here.
Yet.
You're not.
Okay, good.
Dinner.
I could be wrong, but I'm not going to be wrong on this one. It's not happening.
All right, no.
Might
stakes
have
are
to
high,
go for
literally.
Yeah.
Well, Senator, we appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. And I see you got a full agenda, so thank you. You guys all have my cell number. Call me during the session if something comes up. Don't be strangers. When the League of Cities and Towns does their dinner or their lunch, if you're up, let me know. But I do think we have good things happening down here. And I appreciate what I see in Woodland Hills. I see you, and it's probably the wrong word, but it's a low drama city. When I see a lot of conflict in cities, it seems like, obviously you have your problems, you get your challenges, and there's certainly conflict, but it seems like this is a really good community where good, the principles of being a good neighbor prevail, and I appreciate that. So thank you for having me. Call me when you need me.
And just for everybody's, what the luncheon he's talking about, it's January 17th, Local Officials Day at the Legislature.
And I will be
That's
there
what we
unless
have.
President Adams has other plans for me. So I just do what I'm told, but I plan to be there. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Senator.
Thanks, Mike.
Well, that was your chance if you had any pet projects that you wanted to get pushed. Yours kind of got shut down, so.
I
Yeah.
just need to meet with him and
Yeah.
drill him a little harder.
Okay,
I'm not
well, item 5, the social media policy. Obviously, we want to make sure we have a full council. to
So
discuss this.
where's that one coming from?
Well, let's
Gary.
hold off until,
I don't think it's a bad idea. I'm just wondering, where's it originating from?
You know, I knew Mike before he was.
Oh.
before it was cool.
Way back in the day when I was the branch manager at Far West Bank, he was I guess just an attorney who was with us anyway, and we served on Kiwanis together. He was
I
like
thought you were gonna
president.
say his picture, his check was taped up.
No, he was
behind.
president one year and I was president one year, like we kind of rotated.
Oh,
So he tried to get me to run for state office for like 3 years. He nagged me. And then he tried to be the attorney and he wanted like me to open a title company and he would be like my legal counsel. Never happened.
Huh.
I didn't want to do it.
Don't rule out anything just yet.
Yeah, I just thought I'd tell you a couple fun facts. while
Yeah.
you're sitting waiting.
So fun.
Yeah, Carrie, thanks for getting that set up. I think it's nice to be able to hear from our local lawmakers, so thank you for that.
And they have their ear.
Yeah. Okay, item 5, the social media policy. So Dave, you were asking what is sort of underlying this, and I can tell you, as far as my particular concerns go, I just think that we need to be more consistent. I mean, it's not that I'm trying to roll Ted into this conversation, but I think that in the same way that we want to start making our public works exercises more sophisticated and more in line with what other cities are doing, I think that the same is true with respect to information. I think that we've got to tighten it up. I think that and so what this policy would do is it would allow the council to appoint a moderator, which I know we kind of have, but I think that it is something that would allow a little bit more consistency. And I think it would be a good idea if the position rotated. I think that it would be something that if there was, and that's just my opinion, it's your call, but I think that if there was an opportunity for a variety of voices to be that sort of liaison for the city, there's value in that.
I don't think it should be an elected official.
Well, and
But
that's an
has-
option
I
too.
think for the official page, has to either be an elected or a staff person. For the unofficial page, it has to be, like the community page, it has to be a community member.
Well, and
that's
see,
how
the
we have
community
it right
page is
now.
another one that causes me great concern because
That's owned
that's
by
kind of
Mike
becoming,
Reed.
well, I know, but it's like when the roundabout was closed, I'm looking at that and that's a page that people are going to as a source of city position and city information. And I just think that we've got to be careful with that too. So, it's a high level conversation, but I just think that if we're going to do this, we should do it through a well orchestrated channel of information where we've got official posts, we've got official positions, and then the rest of us just kind of take a step back and say, okay, this is the official position. I mean, obviously, the idea is not to choke anybody up in terms of having conversations, but in terms of having, like,
It's
taking a position.
It's the official voice.
Yeah.
And I think that's the reason why I would highly recommend that it not be an elected voice.
Well, and if it
Because
is, I
that-
think that it should, if it rotated, it could be something that,
It creates an outsized perception that I think is not accurate. And so that's why
I
I
agree.
think for the official voice, it should be a staff person.
yeah,
Well, we only have a couple of those.
I know.
but I
know.
agree with you.
But I think you have that staff person, and granted, they're not going to be sending out a lot of things,
right.
but
Well, like
it's
for
just-
now,
it's
just,
a way of moderating that influence. And again, because it is the city's voice, it's a very important, it's an important role, and it's important that it not be
yeah.
an elected one.
Well, and at this point, the only thing that we ever put on the official page is only city business that has usually come from Jody or you.
Right.
We don't ever post anything else. So we put the last month or so, we've put on about our newsletter. We put about road closures. We put out a reminder about just the anniversary of the fires. We put on the emergency test
Trunk or treat.
and trunk or treat. That's and the meet the candidates. That was the official one, nothing else.
And I
Those
think
are all
that
the
needs to
things.
continue. That's.
Yeah,
that
those
was
are all
information.
of the things that are on the official one. What we've tried to do is and we have 2,000 people that follow that page. And some of them, because that's one, because it's official, you can't deny anyone access to it. So everyone who who requests to be a member of that has to be admitted.
Well, now,
And
the,
so-
the policy does allow for some, I mean, there is some discretion, and this was drafted by our attorneys, and so
Right.
I'm assuming that it
Well,
meets with
this
state
is what
law.
they told us when we went to the training at the state level, is because it's a public page, everybody can be admitted, but not everyone can post. Only the city can post. If people choose to comment on that post, you have the right as a city to accept that, like if somebody said, well, I see your thing here there's 8 comments, right, about the road closure. How do we get in? What do we do? Things like that. The comments that came in after you posted about Ted, right? Those are things, if there was something nasty on there, we could remove it.
Right.
But we're supposed to allow people to comment if it's respectful on the city page,
And I'm all for
which
that.
is totally different than Mike's community page, which is just a citizen who wanted to start something because they needed a place to post where they cannot post on our page.
Right.
Only
And-
city can post.
Well, and so by adopting a policy though, then
Mhm.
our position can be made clear in terms of, okay, this is what content is allowed. And as a council,
Mm-hmm.
you will decide if you want to allow comments. I mean, you know, and that's something that, and you'll decide who will the moderator be. But
Yeah.
to the extent that, I mean, in this policy, it does prohibit any of us from taking city positions in other forums, which I think is a good thing, because I think that it is better to
I
have.
mean, even in the community news page, so
If
we
it's a
can't
city
answer a
position,
question? Oh,
Yeah,
no.
Not as a city,
Yeah,
right?
not as a city.
I
mean,
agree.
like,
Right,
it
not
was-
as a city, just as a person.
Yeah.
Like when somebody had a question about trunk or treat on the community page, Janet answered in her official role because she was over that. So we didn't limit what she was saying, you know, come down here, set up here, this is what we're doing. And so I can see where sometimes that could be
Well, I think
not an official
Again,
city position, but it's answering the questions of the community.
that
Right.
goes back to why I think not an elected voice, because again, on the city page, that's an official page, so that shouldn't be someone who could be creating positions for the city. However, on the community page, I think if Dora wants to take a position on a particular topic, let's say ADU bill,
And I did before.
and he does.
Yeah, no, I
And-
think we've all
and
used it for that.
that
purpose.
And as an
perfectly
interesting
fine.
point, Carrie told me to delete it, and I said no. So,
I don't
yeah,
remember saying deleted.
yeah, well,
Let's
that's
not
another
put-
story. But yeah, elected people, I think it needs to be a city employee, because it's hard for citizens to know whether we're speaking as the city or just as a personal. I mean, people confuse that. I mean, in my realm too. So it's touchy sometimes. And Janet probably felt it.
And I mean, to me, those are the big concerns, is one, having a consistent voice, and then two, I do have concerns about that community page being sort of a de facto source of city information,
Yeah.
because, I mean, we sort of arbitrarily chosen that one, and I don't think that we can rightly do that. I mean, I think that that's a private page, and so we can't use that as, our means of communicating to residents and picking a private page for that purpose. I think
Well,
we need to make our official communications official, and
We put it on the official one and we share it to that one, and I get what you're saying.
I think we split them during the fires, because
Mhm.
there was just
One before. We split them at the
And then what
fires.
happened was we had it was just crazy. You had everybody from, hey, where can you dump your RV, to, when is the next briefing going to be? And so that's when we split official from the community page.
Mhm.
I think that was a healthy split, and I like the fact that we, kind of codify that, if you will. And then, yeah, I think the one should just be the city voice. Shouldn't be any individual. It should be the city voice. And then the other one is, whatever. I mean, it's the community. They can use it as they want, and we can use it as we want.
My question is too, is there's another page that uses our name. I mean, is there anything we?
But
can do?
we're not on it, so we
But
can't
is there
respond to
anything we can
questions.
do about that? Because they try to act like they're an official page of Woodland Hills or that they're somehow affiliated, but they're not.
I mean,
They
they're
don't
residents
allow
of the
it.
city, even so they can identify
Yeah.
themselves as residents. But see, that's where I think that we've got too much commingling, because we've got the commingling of city information being conveyed through a private page, in addition to city information being conveyed through our current page. And then I think that it is a fair argument that, well, why does this community page, why does that get to be the avenue?
So I
And
think
the others don't.
what you're saying is we should only post to the city page and not share it to the community page. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, I think that it would
I
be
would agree with that.
better,
get
yeah,
people
I
to
think
come
it would be better
over.
to just leave all official communications to a singular source and not make it look like, okay, well, this is the city page, but wink, wink, this is also the city's page.
Yeah.
That's just
Because-
my opinion.
Because
I
I've
would
told
agree
that
with that,
somebody who
actually.
has the other page that doesn't allow us to comment on the questions, that they're welcome to share, because we make our page shareable, so anyone can share it on their personal page, on their own, whatever. And some people will do that and share it on their personal, but some residents choose not to share what the official statement is, and so they get people riled up. And that's when all those posts come on the community page, because they've seen it other places and they don't recognize that it's not ours, right? And so as we go in and try to mitigate that confusion that happens, that hopefully, I mean, you've all responded to other people's questions. We all have, when they post them on that, trying to just bring them back to reality of what the situation is and what the facts are, right? Because it's easy to hear all these voices and not know what the truth is. I think that it's fine to have a social media policy. I'm not against that. I just think that if we do say all information will not be shared to other pages, we are going to see a big increase in everybody going to the community pages, looking for the source, and we're trying to direct them back to our page.
Maybe that can be our last post. No longer come here, go to the official city page.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. And I think
That's what I was
The
gonna
more-
say, we have to post something.
the more I'm hearing, the more I'm kind of in agreement with you that the city should not share to any other community anything, whether that's, whatever. And I think over time, I mean, people will join the official group, and I've joined both. I get both of them, so I get it.
So
Well,
if we,
Ben was gonna say something too, so.
Oh, go ahead,
then we'll
sorry.
Come back to you, Jen.
I think well, we have a behavioral shift that needs to happen, right? When you're wanting city information, you should go to the city's Facebook page, right? I personally know it will be shared over, and so I've tried to dial it into just one, and I think that's part of our problem. I think that's what most people are doing. I don't think many people go to our site, also because there's no conversation, there's no dialogue there. I think back to what David was saying and others is I think having staff, having be the moderators there, I think makes the most sense. For me, I think it's Jody and Lori probably tag teaming that probably makes the most sense if they're willing.
Right, well, and I hate to dump another task on Jody's lap. I mean, that is something that, I mean, and
We do have an open position though, right?
for the deputy recorder.
So couldn't this become, social media specialist?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great suggestion, if we can
Anyway.
fill it. I mean, and we haven't put it up again lately. I mean, it's sort of died on the vine. We just didn't get any traction, and so.
Yeah, I mean,
But yeah, that's
I know
something we can
entire
migrate
degree
toward for
programs
sure.
at BYU that that's what it is.
Yeah,
It's becoming a social media specialist. And
Well, I mean,
so-
and it can be basically a full time, I mean, answering questions about road closures and things of that sort. I mean, to the extent that there's information there, then it's like, yeah, this, I mean, I don't know that we even had maps through Salem when the roundabout was closed. I don't know that that would have been a question we could have specifically answered, but even still, if there's a question about the trunk or treat or something, I mean, if there's something that this deputy recorder can reach out to you.
Or I was
or-
gonna say, or I would still hope that maybe we could just, on the community page, say, we have official information about this on our city page, if you would like to refer
Right.
there.
Oh, that, yeah.
I think
Well,
that's,
and as people ask questions on the official page under the original post, we can still answer. I mean, there's still a place to answer on the official page if it's just a generalized question, without it having to go. The reason that we started sharing it to the other is Mayor Prey had asked that we start doing that because of the amount of volume of people who were engaging on different levels.
Right.
And that's why we started doing that, but it's no big deal to
Yeah.
just say we're all on the same page. That's no problem.
So I think in summary, you've got the policy in front of you. Read it, digest it. We can tighten it up, but I do think that there is a concern here in terms of we've just got a lot of potential sources of information, and I just think that that's not how a city should operate. A city should have a consistent source of information, and it should be the city's.
It says each of the official social media platforms. What other platform do we have?
Yeah,
besides-
I don't think that would be something we would change, because it would only be a singular one, but that does.
At this
connote-
point, I mean, we
Well,
don't have enough information to have Twitter and Instagram and all the rest of it at this point, unless we did have a social media specialist who did it all day long. Because it's a
Right.
lot of work to
I
keep
mean,
that stuff up.
Yeah.
Twitter's actually kind of a better medium, but that's,
Not a lot of residents use Twitter. People who like
Really?
news do.
oh, big
Okay.
time.
Depends on what generation
I use it all the time, but
Was it
I
say,
do
do we have
too.
a Twitter page?
We don't have anything but
Facebook,
Facebook.
We do not
I don't
have
think
a
anybody has a Twitter page.
Twitter page, but I don't think there's,
Maybe an X page.
There you go.
Oh, yes. I mean, I have an X, but I didn't update it for a minute. It stayed Twitter, and I was like, didn't update it ever since.
All right, well, so there it is. It's before you. I do think, again, this is your call as to who and to how, but this is a starting
So-
point, and I've relayed my concerns as to there just being, it's a little bit Wild West as far as the information that's being relayed.
So one of the things that, because this is just for the official page, the Wild West is the community page.
Yeah,
So as
that,
long as we don't have any control over that page at all, just our own page, which we only have posted things that are official city business or that have been asked to be posted, right? A water main break or whatever, road
right.
closures. So the appeal authority for Woodland Hills City is designated as the appeal authority for the purposes of social media policy. So does that mean if a resident has a issue, then they would appeal to the appeal authority, or who appeals to the appeal authority?
Yeah, so if you get like bumped for a controversial comment or something, then you can appeal that to whoever the council designates.
sort of
as the appeal
arbitrator.
authority.
Oh, somebody says you were censoring me.
Well, or even, I mean, because the terms of using the social media, again, subject to your determination that if you even want to allow comments. But if you allow comments and someone uses really defamatory language, we
Right.
do reserve the right to say, you
Right,
can't be on
right,
here.
right.
And then they could say, well, I want to appeal this decision, and then they would.
Okay, that makes sense. I was just making sure that was clear. When we've had open for, again, one of the things we have on our page is if some, because we get people who say, I want to sell something, or my dog is lost, or whatever. We have an automatic button that we can say, because it doesn't post automatically, it goes to a queue. And that comes up and I say, this isn't city business. I have a button to push that says, post on one of the city community pages or your personal page. Feedback, it bumps off. Only official city stuff is posted.
Right.
And so then they could comment, and some people comment, but not a lot. But
And I just think also to your point about the community page, I just think that it's important that
We reach
collectively, that
Right.
we are not
Right.
treating it like it's a source of city information.
Yeah.
I
It's
think
not.
that's good.
But it's hard to, when there's so much false information on there, it's hard as a city official to not want to be able to just say,
No,
actually.
you can.
Yeah,
This
I mean,
is
you guys can
correct.
decide
As
how
a
much.
council member, I think you absolutely have the right to get on
Comment.
whatever Facebook group you want and comment and refute information.
I mean,
think
most stuff I let
that's
it go, but when
important.
it gets really way out there wackadoodle, I'm like,
Yeah,
Right.
and I think well, let me put it this
Rope it
way.
back in.
When I was first on the council, I got told that I could not post without getting city approval. And that rubbed me really, really wrong. So I
That's
went
against
to
the
the,
First
we're still
Amendment.
citizens.
I went to the ULTC meeting and I asked at the time, David, I can't remember his name,
Dave Church.
Church, and he said, no, of course you can. So we had really outdated information that said that council members could not post. So
Right.
I want to be 100% clear that what any one of us or any future council member decides to do on any forum is their call. It's not the city's.
And you're implying though as citizens, not as.
Yeah, maybe
No,
that's the thing.
or
Maybe you
in
as
the
a
role
council
of a
member.
council member. But that's you as a council member. Now, I agree with the mayor
As a
saying
body,
not the city's position. I agree with that because none of us speak for the city.
right?
Well, if I start
The
interpreting
mayor comes
code,
close.
I think there's some misinformation potentially could go
Well,
out.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Well,
I'm
sure.
still allowed to say it,
Sure.
and I like that attitude actually.
And I think that a balance can be struck there. I mean, so where it is, it's something where you don't have to, sit there and gulp down just flat out false
Well-
statements. But on the other hand, it allows for us to, again, have a consistent source of city position, city information. And I just think that the commingling of the two in this really blurry way that we're currently doing it
Yeah.
is
Why don't we,
problematic.
one of the things that I think that might work then to be able to do both is that the mayor and the current council and one staff member, probably Jody, could all be admins and or moderators of the official one. So if official things needed to go out from whatever, a road's closed or water main break or whatever is happening, we could all have access to that. And we just have to be really diligent in not
See, I'd
posting
reverse
the
that.
same thing on the community pages, but answering questions, but directing the question, the answer back. Say, did you see my answer on the official page? And maybe directing people back to the post that's on the official page.
And the other thing that I think you need to be
A lot of
very
people don't
attentive
even
to.
know which page is the official.
Well, we
page.
would make a public declaration of that. I mean,
I'm
that's the
just
thing that we would
saying,
formally
there's a lot of
adopt.
people that don't know that.
Yeah, no, and there's an education.
I didn't
element to
know
it.
until
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Well, because it was
But
all
let me
one
just also
page.
say though that
It
like,
used to be, we separated,
like,
right?
I think that, like, fire as an example, like, I think we got to be careful speaking on behalf of fire as a council member, because fire might have a position that is entirely different. And so that's where, even though we want to keep those doors open.
We say that to our members too.
Well, I think though, anybody who can speak however they want, right, and reap the consequences of that, right? If I go bat nuts crazy, and then every time I speak on social media, Ted and Dora will have to, correct me, I'm not going to get reelected, right? Or we're not going to get reelected. And so, do I think there is a fear? Sure, but I think just like we see at the federal level, they're a great example. Yeah, exactly. Ben spouting off. But basically, on the federal level, we hear all sorts of crap all the time, and they're allowed to say it, and they get to live with those consequences. And I think that's how we have to do it. Now, I think when it comes to the official side of things, I would actually disagree with you, Carrie, and say we probably shouldn't be admins on that account. I think it needs to flow through a central source. That way, everything can then be kind of even proofread. It can be balanced. And if there's questions, it can be brought back into things, and then it can go out.
We don't want misinformation.
And so that way, it has channels and processes to drive accuracy.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the community page and us as electeds or as even residents, we should be allowed to say whatever the heck we want and reap the consequences of it, and understand that if we're peddling misinformation, it will be known, right? There are examples
Yeah,
of
and-
those that have lost credibility. And that's what we just have to understand is, but I say we lock down our current one. I don't think things need to be shared from it. I think we can say, hey, there is information and then link to it, but I wouldn't share it the other way, because then nobody will go back to the city's account.
Right.
And that's what we need to change, is people need to look for city information on the city's page, and that's where their source of truth must
So I
be.
think with that then, is so say Janet wanted to do the trunk or treat, or we're coming up with Santa. She wanted to do a Santa post. Then whoever we choose as the admin for that, then you would write the post, submit it, and it would be in the queue, that queue I was just talking about, and then whoever is the admin can just approve it, and it would then put on after they've read it through.
Mhm.
And it would come from Janet saying that it would be approved by the admin before it was put on there. And it says Santa's going to be here on this day, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or if there was some other post that needed to be put on, it would be finalized by the person who's over it, because that back and forth of sharing information is sometimes is the waste of time,
Right.
right? And we don't want to
No, it'd be better to streamline it for sure.
to overly burden Jody with if she could just read through it and say, yep, that's it, and push the button.
Sure.
Well, and good point. I mean, and we do need to look at the availability of our current staffing to even manage something like that. But so I think that it's something that, I mean, we're not going to address every issue in this initial swing at this, but I do think that we can get the skeleton in place. And again, it's yours to decide. So
And we're
if
not
you've got
voting on
something-
it tonight.
No,
We're
it's just, it's for
discussing it.
digestion.
Yep.
So look it over, and then if there are things that you really want to call out and say, well, I want to reserve this particular option and I'm going to die on this hill, then let's have that conversation and see if we can't put something together that I think, at least again, gives us a little bit more consistency and a little bit more uniformity in our information.
Thank you for putting this
agree.
together.
And we could ask the community news page to make, their admins to make an official statement that says, we're not going to be, that, we're not
Yeah,
going to do the
start
sharing.
steering
Because
people.
if it comes from their perspective back to us too, that's a double from us and also from them.
Mayor, Ted had his hand up. Did you have something? I just wondered. I know, but
Yeah.
Well, because the fire department has their own page too.
Well,
So,
Yeah.
no, I was just.
Ted?
so would this policy go for the official fire department page too as well?
it's,
It should go for all city.
Yeah,
Well,
I
the fire
actually,
Yeah, the fire department's not the city, right?
right.
They're a part of the city, and we have to.
So
Talk
this
at that
would be
point,
for your
right?
page as
Yeah.
well, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yep. Yeah, we got a PIO that does all our posts on our Facebook. We only got one guy that handles it all.
I'd love that. Well, only because one of the problems we have
He's not
is
really a
submitting
PIO,
content. It gets ignored sometimes.
Yeah, no, my only,
Have two different purposes though.
But what were you going to say?
well, I think it was earlier in the conversation when there was discussion about everybody on the council and mayor and everybody being administrators. My suggestion was just going to be, it probably ought to go through, I mean, at least one person that's the kind of the gatekeeper of it all, so it doesn't get too confusing. And usually we're always, because if there's a post from the Public Works, I'm going to be working right here with staff, right? So that would be the easiest way to get the correct information out. Ultimately, if there's a questionable information, I mean, you go to the boss or the manager of the city.
That's something that I think that we could put together then, where it does, it funnels into a singular person. Now we just have to.
Or at least, or maybe,
Yeah.
Singular person.
maybe even two or three in case somebody's on vacation or whatever, because
Right.
because your post, depending on what it is, if it's a water main break and
Right,
you
it
need to
might
get
not
it
be able
out
to wait.
right now,
Yeah.
and a city, as staff member, their phone is turned off by 5, right? I mean, then that could be an issue when it's 10 o'clock at night and you need to get something out there. So there's probably gonna need to be more than one, so I'd say 2 or 3 as the gatekeepers,
Wayne,
that
stop
would
turning your
approve.
phone off.
as city council, city council posts or a department head post or whatever. But I do think that the policy should be for both pages, and I don't think we should combine the 2 pages because they have very distinct differences.
Fair enough. Okay. All right, well, good discussion. So chew on it, and maybe next meeting we can have something that might even be votable. So, all right. Item 6, December City Council meeting. Jody, you're probably best equipped to speak to this, but I believe that because of the canvassing, we have to do something earlier, and wouldn't you rather get your December meeting out of the way and enjoy the rest of the holiday? But so we're looking at December 5th, whereas right now I think it's scheduled for the 13th.
Well,
Oh, yeah. 5 plus 7 is 12. Math checks out.
Yeah, I think that would be fine. Me.
I agree.
Anybody have any concerns with that? And there is a reason too, I mean, so that we can, right, Jody?
Yeah, you have to canvass the election within 14 days after the election. So that would be the 14th day.
Oh, okay.
So the
All
5th.
right.
Definitely don't want to go later.
So officially it's on the 5th?
Yeah, so, well, I mean, I guess we need to vote on it, but
Okay.
unless 3 of
Okay.
you quickly change your mind, I think that is the plan.
I don't know. David may want to,
no, that date actually works.
And are we going to, usually, sometimes in the
That's
past,
your
we
last
had
one, right?
a Christmas kind of
Oh, no, you have
thing,
one more after that,
you
right?
know,
Well, no.
food or
But I would've
something,
been-
but I don't know.
Okay,
what
let's
we
do it. Oh, that's a good idea. I mean, I know last year,
Or staff lunch, that was fun.
yeah,
We did that last year, never. Should do that.
no, I mean, do you want to do it the night of the
I
meeting?
think
or
the
do you want-
nighttime, because like David couldn't come to the staff meeting because it's in the middle of the day and he's at work. And so who knows where we'll be. So I think at night makes more sense to have a little dinner, exchange our gifts.
Yeah, so do you want to
Our
do it on
last-
the evening of the council meeting then?
think we
mean, do you want
should.
to roll it all in? Okay, so does that mean we're going to do council meeting? I mean, I guess we would just bring food in. I mean, we just, you're not talking about the rest of
No,
the
just bring food here.
All right.
Exchange our gifts, have a little laugh.
Okay. Someone dress up
Get
as
it.
Santa
Yeah.
or elf?
I don't have enough hair.
Then I'm way out.
Okay.
Not
All right.
fat
Well,
enough.
then, Brian it
Not
is.
fat enough either.
All right, proposed ordinance adopting the 2024 city council meeting schedule. Item 7.
I have a question about that.
Yeah,
Why is it coming up now when I thought it would come up in January? I mean, new elected people are potential. I just wonder why we decide to schedule next year before we have the elections over with.
because
Just a
Jody
question.
told me to do it.
Oh,
I actually,
tell me,
I don't
Jody.
know.
Because actually you should be establishing it either in November or December.
Oh,
And the reason being is that way it also establishes when individuals will take office. You can always amend it after,
oh, I just wondered.
but it's just a way of making
And
sure
it's
that
just
you've
the same,
She knows the rules, so I'm
Second and
happy to
fourth.
hear.
right?
Okay.
Except for holiday months. Basically, second and fourth Tuesday, nothing changes. We just have to,
Yeah, no,
it's just a formality.
I liked it all, yeah.
Okay, well, with no further comments or questions, item 8, so the Three Bridges development, all of us were in attendance at the planning commission meeting, and so as we talked about, I texted Larry Myler, and I just think that trying to do a town hall meeting before the end of the year is, people's schedules are too crazy, so there's no rush in this. I mean, all the things that they're talking about are miles down the road,
So do we even need it? Because Salem City is going to approve it tomorrow night, and is there any,
Well, they're only approving the zoning.
yeah, the preliminary plat, so there's no, I mean, I guess for us to have a whole town hall meeting for our whole entire city to come when Salem will probably have already approved it 2 months earlier, does that help us at all? Or is it because it's their ordinances, it's their development?
Is there a chance?
Well, let me just say that my biggest concern is that I want to put to bed any notion that this is being done under a cloak of secrecy. And I, frankly, I resent the fact that it's being characterized by that. And I do want to talk a little bit about that too, because I think that all that's doing is that's stifling conversation. I mean, so anyway, the reason I was thinking it might be worth doing early on in the process is it's in response, honestly, to this idea that this is being done secretly. And so if I mean, it's absolutely way too early the developer hasn't even proposed, I mean, they've got drawings, but they haven't actually come to the city and said, this is what we'd like to do. And, well, I mean, they said what they would like to do, but there's nothing, I mean, we've got to go through all the formalities of, I mean, there's nothing that can be done without complete engagement by the planning commission, by the city council, by myself, so.
Well, and somebody that's in the development world suggested to me that they don't even know that they even have.
Right, well, they haven't
And that
purchased the
their
property.
partnership has split a couple times and that
They,
there's.
they haven't bought the property all the way yet. It's
So that
only,
there's lots of issues and they said
Yeah.
that they weren't even.
Well,
that
they
were
said-
doubtful that-
They said the land's been
they
perfect.
did,
They
I
said-
asked.
they said-
I asked
they
Davis's
said it in
and they
public.
said no.
Specifically said that they bought.
They
I
bought
know
it
that
all.
what he said, but I asked Davis's and they said, no, it has not yet, they have not yet received the money. There's some paperwork signed, but the deal has not officially
Well, that's-
closed
that's
all
the
of
Somebody
it.
in
different answer.
development world told me that there's a really good chance that.
Wow, wow.
Well, I'm disappointed because I fear that what could go there could be much, much
I think
more
what
encroaching.
what really is there's a lot of emotion, and I think that's what you're trying to get in front of, and I agree with you. I think there's a lot of ignorance around how development works, around the process, around the
Totally.
time frames
They've
and
never done it.
timelines.
Yeah.
Well,
And that's what we just have to help educate on. And I think the town hall meeting, I think probably the beginning of next year makes a lot of sense. I think it's needed. And I think it'll help ease a lot of concerns, make sure Larry gets our input, and also make sure people understand what we have talked with them about and what we have not talked about, and get all the rumors, right? Sorry to coin use the coin fake news. There's a lot of that right now. And there is a lot of people who are emotionally bound with excited feelings that are peddling falsities.
I've been
Right.
surprised at how many people think that property is still in Woodland Hills. That's one of the biggest things, I think, as I've been talking with people saying, we only have control over Woodland Hills boundary ordinances, that's Salem. And once they realize that annexation occurred a long time ago and it's under their city council and their planning commission and their ordinances, they have this aha moment of, oh, I
Well,
didn't know that.
Also,
Well-
citizens think that we gave it away or that we
Yeah.
sent it to Salem. I heard that comment from a few people, that we didn't want it or in our city and so
Well,
I think.
Are we sure that that's, I mean, I thought that there
It
was a
kind of was that
conflict.
way.
Yeah,
It
I think
was
that they wanted to build a golf
Pushed
course.
away, but
Well, we
Yeah.
told them no and but the property owner chooses. They
Yeah.
chose, as a property owner, they chose to annex it to
We
Salem.
didn't,
But we had to
we
agree
didn't
to it.
fight,
We
we
didn't
didn't
push
fight
them
for them
away.
to stay, yeah.
Yeah.
We were, we meaning not our council, but the council at the time was okay to just say, okay, we're fine, you go over to Salem.
Yeah, and,
Because they felt like that was a pipe dream too, right? And just like we kind of think this one is, and
It's ironic though that now there's a golf course.
yeah, I know. Well, I mean, and in
It's fine
hindsight,
there.
it's easy to criticize decisions. Mark, did you have something that you wanted to say?
Yes, Mayor. You made a comment a couple of minutes ago about trying to get in front of this and you didn't want to delay a town hall meeting any longer than you had to, but we don't have enough information. Maybe now would be a good time to use the official city website or whatever to say, hey, we're aware of all this stuff. We plan on having a town meeting, but until such time, we really have nothing to say. That might dispel some of that.
That's a good suggestion. Thank you.
What day are you looking at?
Larry said that he would make himself available at the first of the year. So first of the year is as tightly scheduled as we've got it right now. So, I mean,
Like on the 9th on our regular city council night? There's
yeah,
not
I
a
mean,
lot going on
that-
at
Well,
that time.
you'll have swearings in.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I'm
yeah,
swearing in, but we could have an audience for that.
yeah.
Instead of just your spouse.
That might be a good one. Anybody have any thoughts about that, Dave? Well, so I'll shoot something back to him.
See if he can come then.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm not trying to spread any rumors. I'm just saying that somebody told me that. Yeah.
I got the same thing.
So now, I also do want to take this opportunity. I mean, I know Carrie and Ben, you both indicated that you've heard whisperings of closed door rumors or closed door meetings, and I mean, I would like to hear what people are saying. And
Okay,
wanna
I
lay it
can
out
help
loud.
you with that.
Okay, yeah, no, let's have it out.
There is a mystery over there. I'm talking Maple Drive, that you are swinging a deal. Now, we have not heard anything about this, and I'm not sure, but you did stand here. Here's what really stirred them. You stood up and said, and I was glad you spoke at the Planning Commission in Salem, but you said something at the end of your talk, end of your speech that kind of threw them all under the bus to them. And you probably know that, but
No, I
But what
actually, I
they-
didn't mean to do
what-
that. I was trying to be
well,
sensitive to their
there's
concerns.
they're not listening with a crisp ear either, to be fair with you, but they are terrified, well, and bothered that Maple Drive will become an in and an out for that new area. They don't want that busy traffic at all, for all kinds of the reasons they mentioned. And so, but they think because of that comment, and it worsened on that comment, that you were trying to get that road built, Freedor City, by swinging a deal with the developers. And who knows why they think that, but they just feel like they're going to lose to the traffic growth of that area, that neighborhood. And it would, frankly, I think, if they used that, entrance to their area up top.
Right.
No,
and I appreciate that. Well, and, I've considered the comments that I've made on this all along. And we even talked about this in a September city council meeting, because
I asked
you were
the
saying,
question.
yeah, you
Well,
said
and that's what I told
residents.
people. I said, if you go back and listen to the recording, I asked on the public record if we had anything, and you said high-level meetings.
Yeah,
I said, that's all that we know. We don't know any particulars that anything has been done. So several people said they went back and listened. I can't believe they did it, but they did, just to hear that one comment. But, I think to Doral's point, there were some things somehow, I don't even I was there and I don't remember what you said, but something you said made them feel like
yeah.
you had, and also to the point, also, a lot of them talked with Larry Myler afterwards, and he said, I've had several meetings with the city. He did. And so when they came and said, well, how many times has he come to city council? I said, never.
Well,
Right?
and so they ask
And
us,
so-
what's the mayor thinking? And I said, well, we've never talked
We've never talked
other
about
than
it.
that. You're right.
Uh-huh.
And so
So
we don't know
somehow
what was
Larry-
going on in high level meetings.
Right, and so somehow Larry's conversation with them, that I've been working with Woodland Hills, I've had several meetings with Woodland Hills, whatever he's been telling them, then comes back, and I've said, it's never come to council meeting, I asked you on the public record and in October,
But
and it was no.
that makes
it was
them worry
none of
about you
those.
more,
He's gonna say
you know?
that because he's covering his butt.
Right,
doesn't
but,
want the
but
city
what
to
they
be
don't
mad at
realize
him.
is that just because a developer says that doesn't mean it happened.
Well, I mean, and that depends on how you define several. We have met. I mean, when I met with the residents of Maple at the Monday night meeting,
Last Monday.
Oh.
yeah, I mean, I explained exactly like, so the way this started was we approached Larry in the hopes that they would come back into Woodland Hills.
Annex back in.
Yeah, because it's like, all right, well, development is coming, so let's see if we can maybe get at least the tax revenues from it and be able to have some voice in how it's
Yeah.
played out.
Yeah.
And so that's how the whole conversation started. And when that seemed like that was a dead end, then he came to the city on a few occasions.
And
but,
I didn't know you'd
mean,
done that. And you said in a text that you had already tried that. So good.
We
Thank you.
talked
Keep,
about that.
keep going now. This is interesting. Keep going.
Yeah. So I mean, that was the initial approach.
The
And
whole
then,
initial thing.
yeah, and when that looked like that was going to go nowhere, then it just became a question of, well, he really wanted the roundabout. He really wants the roundabout, and he really wants the salt shed move. Honestly, the access through Maple, I mean, first of all, I'm not structuring anything. I'm just trying to present something to the residents to put this together in a way that then we can go to the residents and say, okay, look, this is what we've been offered. Because what this does potentially allow us to do is to lock up some property for some commercial development, which would increase our tax base. Which, if you don't want, if you have no appetite for that,
The Monday night crowd does not want that.
yeah.
The other thing
Well,
is-
actually, a fair number of them don't mind that, except they don't want it to be attached through Maple, and that's fine. But, and this is part of the reason, and I even told this to the Monday night group, it's like, but I also don't think it's fair that if you, this relatively small group of residents, you shouldn't be able to veto something that potentially stands to benefit the entire city. I mean, so I do think that we have to at least look at that. I mean, because if this would allow us to get some commercial development, and it would allow us to maybe ease the burdens that we pay as taxpayers, then that's not just about Maple Drive, that's about the whole city. And so I just think that it's at least got to be part of the conversation. And again, I have no dog in this race. I mean, I would love to see the golf course. I think that, like I've said before, it could be way, way worse. I mean, we actually got, in my opinion, we got lucky by that development looking the way that it does, because it could have been something much worse. But if they bypass Woodland Hills altogether and never come in, my only thing is like, I just don't want to hear, well, what can we do about tax revenue? Because it's like, this was something that we were trying to put together so that we could ease that burden potentially a little bit.
Well,
But anyway.
and two, I don't think any of the ones on Maple are concerned about it going through on the roundabout part. But one of the things Larry did tell some of them that they called and asked me is that Larry bought property in Woodland Hills
Yeah,
by that spot. And so they're a little concerned about, is that going to be part of the development? Is this separate? What's,
no, that's
You know,
that's what
and
we
that's
want to
the-
earmark for the commercial
Right.
property and the
and
potential.
so that little part that he bought that's in Woodland Hills, but is not connected to the development of Three Bridges. So he could develop the
Is-
part in Woodland Hills separate.
Where's
from
his
that division.
property?
He bought that triangle that's kind of,
It's the
between
Knott's
the-
property, or the former
no,
Knott's.
the Knots still have theirs. This is separate from the Knots.
No, it's one of the Knott's
Oh,
parcels.
okay. So
The parcel just below the mailboxes that was part of Rory Knott's and
okay.
Knott's
okay.
Apartments
So
LLC.
most
Yeah.
importantly, did you
Not-
talk?
not
Did you
Scott Parker's.
did you talk about this with that herd of citizens over there?
Yeah, I've tried to tell everybody. the
Perfect,
evolution of this
perfect,
all along. But
perfect.
that's why I wanted to bring it up tonight, because I thought that the air was clear, but then I hear people are still talking
I
about it.
think it was
so-
just that last statement that Dora brought up at the beginning. I think that you probably didn't even realize it because you were just talking, but they were sensitive to that. And then when Larry afterwards, he spent another hour with them talking, and when he was like, well, yeah, we've met all these times and we have, so he was, as a developer, exaggerating what had happened. And then I wish I could remember what you said, but I don't. But it was enough to get
yeah.
them kind of agitated, and then Larry afterwards saying his remarks, then just kind of made this assumption.
Yeah, no, see, I mean, my intention, and maybe I didn't execute it very well, but my intention was just to say, look, I don't want this planning commission to lead with the assumption that everybody in Woodland Hills hates this idea, because I've gotten a lot of feedback from a lot of people that say this would be awesome.
Well,
And so-
nobody on Maple, I have not heard one citizen say they don't want the development. Nobody.
They want two things.
They just want,
Don't use maple
Well, at that planning commission meeting,
And-
there were a lot of people that were saying,
and-
don't build.
and a buffer. That was
yeah,
important.
the transitional zoning and the
Yeah.
don't use Maple are the
So,
two main things.
There-
But you had the one resident that said he was gonna have 11 properties.
Yeah, that's,
No, that's the transitional zoning part, because he has
Well-
a big spot.
If you look at the elevations on some of those lots, they're going to be thrown out. One of them has a 55-foot elevation drop from front to back,
Yeah.
and it's like a quarter acre.
well, you
Like,
build a stair thing.
Right.
talk about
So-
driveway
so
slope.
did that meeting go well?
Really,
I mean,
On Monday?
yeah.
Used to
I
talk
thought it did.
If you
Like I
met-
said, I mean, I felt that it was something that, you know, I mean, again, I'm not trying to conceal anything, but I also, to me, it's just a matter of timing. It's like, look, I don't want to start pitching something to the residents, even if I think it would be good for the city. If I actually do believe that some commercial property down there would be a good thing if it was properly restricted. Because like, I think that, you know, you don't want just some crappy strip mall. You want something that ties in well, that, and I
Yeah.
keep
And that's
saying
in our,
Harmon's,
and
but
that's in our city, on the
Yeah.
property that you
Yeah.
bought in our city. We have no jurisdiction over anything
Yeah.
that Salem does. Now,
But let me also just say that I recognize that that is not necessarily even a widely held view, but it's an option. And
Right.
that's
You
what I
need-
want to do.
you need
is like,
options.
okay, this is an option for us.
Okay.
If you don't like the high tax bills, this could cut them down
Yeah.
a little bit at least. And if you don't want it, that's great. Just don't complain if we have to raise taxes to repave the roads.
Well,
And I think that, I don't know, somewhere in all of this, what has gotten lost is that we are doing what the residents asked. They've said, okay, we're willing to pony up tax money, but we also want you to explore other options.
That's what I think.
That's what
they
you were
did-
doing.
They did ask.
That's the way
that,
I
yes.
see it.
So
Yes.
they
That's why I really
They
am bothered
need
by
to
the
be
fact that it's then
careful
used to
about
malign me.
ripping you up because you're doing.
You're a
what they asked you to
politician.
do.
We,
Well, it's that same old thing though. It's like the roundabout. They complain about it being closed, but they complain about the potholes. Like,
Right.
You have to have it closed for a day if you want the potholes fixed. I mean,
Which, by the way, it's really nice.
it's really
No,
nice.
it's so
Really,
nice.
I'm gonna have to go down.
It
there
is,
and
it
take
is
a
really
couple
nice.
laps.
The other thing is
I
that
would
this is a
highly
phased
recommend.
project, right? And they're gonna start the phase that's right at the entrance of, their main
North, they're
interest
gonna
is,
start on the
is
north.
over by Trotter's house. That's their main entrance on the north side. The one on the roundabout is their secondary. That's gonna be the big to-do. They're gonna make the big grand entrance over that. And those are the smaller lots, and they'll start there with, and with the golf course. But, what's up against closer to the well and closer to Maple is stage 4 or phase 4. And as Janet said, the more I'm hearing, the more it's a possibility that it either won't be done or it will be extended and sold. And, you know, it'll be a long time because it might have to revert back to the Davises, unfortunately, because if they're not paid.
Okay, so I just
Well,
want, if
well,
anybody has anything
you're-
that you want to clear the air,
want you to know
I'm
your
here.
character has been defended. I said I spent a lot of time with this guy, and I know what you're feeling is not justified. And you've had to say that more than once because they were really wired for a
well,
while.
and I feel bad if I misspoke and said something that but I mean, like I said, I'm trying to view this in a more holistic way. Like, I get it. You on Maple, you have concerns, and as far as I'm concerned, Maple can be taken out of the equation. But if that is a deal breaker for the whole thing, that
Yeah.
still could then
You
consider.
need to- you
I
need-
think that we have to at least consider.
you need to have options.
Yeah.
And
that's the way
I was good. Dave Stone stood up and was totally on the other side, and they just needed to hear that in Salem. And I thought that was okay.
That was useful, yeah.
That was okay.
Because, I mean, there are different points of view on this.
Yes.
All right, well, thank
Anyway.
you for indulging me.
No, but you're still the best mayor ever, so you're good.
Go on.
No.
At least this year.
Yeah.
yes, candidate. Like,
The one
Yeah,
thing,
Be careful.
Yeah.
the one thing that I do want to mention is at this meeting, he needs to bring the studies. That was a big part. That was probably, I'm going to guess, I was kind of guessing about 40% of what they brought up were specific studies that they wanted to see that he said he's done. So let's make sure he brings that. If we're arranging that with him, let's make sure that that's,
Because my bet is the
Arranged.
studies were about Woodland Hills Drive.
Yeah, I don't-
Not,
and most likely, and again, he's not, until he gets this approval tomorrow night, he's not going to look at a lot of those things. He's not going to go in and do some of the I mean, I do projects all the time, and I'm not, until I get approval, I'm not going to do a geotechnical survey until I know exactly where that tank or whatever is, unit's going to be. So those are the things that he needs to bring to that meeting as well.
The
Right.
engineer
Yeah, no, that's-
from Salem, though, also said that not all the studies had been done, that
Yeah, I
some
know.
had been
Yeah,
done.
but he was talking about some of them being done, and I think they should be there, and so that they can be questioned, because he can say, yeah, I've done a traffic study.
Right.
Does
No, I-
it
I
a traffic
totally
study
agree.
that covers Maple?
Yeah, good
Right.
point.
No, maybe not. So I
point.
think he needs
Take
to
him to
bring those
task.
so he can
Mhm. That's a good point.
Absolutely.
up for it.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, well, so we'll aim for the 9th, and then I'll let you know, if that works for him, and we'll, take that to the next step. Okay, item 9, large purchases requests. I don't think there's anything.
I don't have anything.
It's what? Large purchase requests, golf memberships at Three Bridges for, yeah. Yeah. Well, you still got a little leverage. We haven't voted you as the
Yeah.
public.
He's got no limit.
Chris, are there any large purchases that come to mind? I don't recall
Mm.
any.
I don't have any to bring up.
He's snoring.
Yeah, no
No.
kidding. I wish we could.
Can you hear me?
Video. Maybe not though, really.
Might be just a buttoned up shirt.
if you're speaking, we can't hear you.
All right. Oh, there
Oh,
you
Yeah, I'm
go.
trying to
there you
speak.
We can see you.
Can you
but
not hear me?
What's that hairdo?
I like it.
I don't, nothing.
No volume.
Okay.
Okay. he's
And you
saying-
say no large purchase.
Oh, you said no large purchases? Okay,
A-okay.
thank you. Wow, nice, good lip
You
reading.
speak quick.
Wow.
Okay,
Wow.
thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, item 10, update. UDOT
Holy
and
hell.
ARPA.
No.
Okay.
Chris and I were supposed to be working on getting the RFPs, but he hasn't called me to say, let's make sure everything's in place so that we can start going forward. I've just been waiting for kind of that, because you told me that, that he would be writing those, and I said, how about we work on them a little together, just so he knows what's supposed to be in the RFP,
Okay,
so that we can go forward.
all right, well, Chris, we know you can hear us, so that's something for you to reach out to Carrie. Ted, fire? Any updates on grants?
So I think we applied for 2 fire grants. One of them I did hear back on. We did not get awarded our Ready, Set, Go grant this year, which was kind of surprising. When they sent out the reasoning, it was just simply they had an astronomical amount of requests this year compared to usual. And so not everybody could get it this year. So we didn't get our Ready, Set, Go, which is the one we historically used to get the dumpsters with.
Oh. that's-
So
I had citizens asking me if we were going to do that again.
yeah, I've had a few email me too. And we normally have done that in the fall because we do the chipping in the spring, but usually we use that grant money to do it. And the grant money applications usually come out in the spring, so you have the money by the fall. This year, the application didn't come out till the fall. So we didn't have the money in place to do it this fall. And it looks like we won't next fall either, unless we find some other budget to bring some dumpsters, and we might can do that. But we were kind of hoping for that grant again. But it's unfortunate too, because that's, I think, the one we've used to use the county chipper in the past too. So
So how long what would the duration of that have been? Would that have carried us all the way through to next November, or what? I mean,
the grant funding.
yeah, I mean, I'm just curious, when does it reset that maybe we'll get another
next fall, I believe. So you have to have had it used by August 2024.
Gotcha.
So I suspect the next grant funding cycle will be after August 2024. We'll try again and we'll keep trying. Hopefully they maybe rotate this through. So we didn't get that grant money.
Senator McKell did say that the legislature's putting a bunch of fire money aside, maybe something there.
So we're not funded for our chipping in the spring either yet?
So
Is that what that means?
we're not, so the county historically has used this funding to use the chipper that the county owns, not the one that the wildland crews use. So this is one the county bought. The county bought two chippers a few years back. They keep one on the north end of the county, one on the south end of the county, and it's just available for fire departments to use as they need for chipping. The wildland crew that comes up, they just do that on their own time, their own volunteer, their own chipper. That's what they did this year. So likely we'll just work with the county again, and we'll probably still do the chipping days if they agree to do it, because they do that on their own time just to give their crews a little warm up before the fire season.
Yeah.
It's kind of like their preseason. So we'll work with the county again to try and get that arranged, but we won't have, I don't know that we'll have access to the chipper that was used by our crews last year from the county. We'll have to see, but this year we rented one and it wasn't too big a deal. We rented one a couple different times and wasn't that big of a deal. We had budget for it. So, the other one we applied for was it's the license plate grant, but it's money they get from all the firefighter license plates that get set aside for firefighter grants. Haven't heard back on that one yet. That one we submitted to hopefully replace our helmets since they're like 20 years past their due dates. And the FEMA assistance to firefighter grants, that one just kind of goes ongoing through the year. They award it to various departments at various times during the year. We haven't got any award out of that one, but it's a very difficult one to get. We'll probably just reapply every year and just see how it goes. But
Well, thank you for your expertise on where to look for that money too. So
yeah, hopefully we'll keep even finding more.
perfect.
Just
Thank
want to
you.
report to the council, we trained on it with our new jaws this morning and they are incredible. The battery ones are incredible.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And
So
keep that in mind as we in a soon to be date come for maybe an approval for the other piece of equipment. So we're fully equipped. Right now we're half equipped.
All right.
very, very different. We had the old, we exercised the old, we brought out the new one and thought, man, we're going to throw the old one out, man. This is so much better. So anyway, it made a big difference. So
Cool. I'd like to see them in operation. I mean,
yeah.
not
Yeah.
my own.
Well, bring your car
extraction.
down, park it close. Park your car close to the.
All right. Parks, Trails, and Recreation.
Just the grant, just the part to repair the water bars. We weren't able to do that. So Sherry applied for an extension to do that in the spring.
Okay, good.
We just didn't get a crew and it got cold, and so we'll do that in the spring.
Back to you, Ted, for water line replacement grant.
We haven't heard any, last I've heard, so we applied for that GOEO grant, which is the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, your water line project.
Is that the lead-based, is that for the lead piping? Is that one, or is that something different?
Separate one. So this GOEO money was $50 million the state set aside. The state set aside this money for water infrastructure. And it's different from the lead copper road fund. It was just, you can apply for it for any type of water project. And I know, I've heard they received about 107 or 70 applications, averaging about $1.2 million per application. So they've probably got in the neighborhood of 150 to $200 million in requests. So you can, I mean, your shot.
I like our chances.
Yeah, it's a pretty long shot. But anyway, we haven't heard back on it yet. They're still trying to answer them.
Cool. Okay, well, thanks for trying.
I guess you're just roads, but
Did we qualify for the rural opportunity grant?
I haven't looked at that one yet. but
'Cause
we do
that-
struggle with that one really.
Right,
We're too economically,
All right.
I took a pay cut.
Well, we all have to do our part. Thanks, Dave.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, municipal subdivision ordinance technical assistance grant. I actually trying to think who was manning this. That's you, Wayne?
Yeah.
Okay. Any updates there?
No, we work with that. We. This grant, if, I don't think it's a matter of requesting it. I think there's a very good chance of getting it. It's money that's been set aside for small communities to help, for them to help us with redoing our subdivision ordinance. And I've talked to both our attorneys and the suggested organization to help us with it, right, and they're prepared to go forward and help. So we're just kind of waiting for that to be finalized. But I'm led to believe that the money's going to be there to help us with the expenses on that.
Perfect, thank you.
So.
Okay, city council reports. Councilmember Hilliard.
Well, we got the roundabout all squared away. So I sent a thank you text. Yeah. I sent a thank you text to Commissioner Gordon this morning.
Oh, good. So
About
you
that.
were really leaning.
I've been, he's grateful it's done. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
I will stop harassing him now. So that was exciting. You know, we've got the tarring that's started. Do we know, Ted, is that? They're probably done now. Because I know there's big spots of the city they haven't even hit at all.
Well, so there was so many.
All right.
So Corbett had purchased so many pallets of crack seal tar and gave them a map of priority streets, and they just go until they run out of tar, and they've ran out.
Gotcha. Is that why when you drive down the street, it's a nice vibration? It's because they put it on so thick?
They had a recommendation for us for next year that we not wait so long in the season. That's the reason, the bubble, and he says that's not going to be great when you start plowing. You're going to basically.
We'll shear it off nice.
Mhm.
That'd be great.
So he, when he called the other day, and I think they had 3 pallets left they were going to use today.
I saw them out today.
I think they.
asked for to put the 3 pallets.
Yeah.
They said they didn't know, so.
I just told him to keep going on the next priority streets when he called yesterday, but good.
Okay. We
Yeah.
also, I'd spoken with you a little bit the other day. Have we heard back from 801 Asphalt at all about a quote on what it will take to get all those patches done?
I haven't heard anything from them on the quote
Okay.
for that one. Just the crack sealing was all.
Okay. Then I'll try and follow up with that one. As for Parks, Trails, and Recreation, we haven't met in quite a while since our main event that we installed benches and bollards and all of that. So nothing there.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Kinnison.
Nothing to report. Meetings were canceled last month.
Parks Trails hasn't met, Finance hasn't met, but we did have our trick or treat. It was awesome. And I thought it turned out really good. Things went a little smoother second year around. First year, the hot cocoa thing was hard, but I found out the secret and it was lots better.
What's the secret?
You have your volunteers bring the 5-gallon water jug full of boiling hot water. Then you're not trying to boil. They just bring it. So, and they were all willing to do it. So I went and dropped coolers off to everybody ahead of time. So that, like, what people that didn't have them.
That's
So they
great.
could bring it.
Real good.
People love, love, love that we do that. That there's that part that you can, just hang out together, and they love it.
And we had people bring heaters because it was going to be cold, and that worked out really good. So then the next thing that's coming up is Santa, and I really kind of wanted to do something at the city center, but our Santa, he wanted to keep with the tradition, and he's a great Santa, and we don't want to rock the boat there. So but we're not gonna go, also, I've heard from, not Ted, but individual members of the fire department that they don't like the current format because it takes a whole day and a lot of them aren't necessarily willing to come and do that and give up a whole Saturday right before Christmas. So we're gonna go to a format of maybe like 6 to 8 stops. And we'll post them and we'll have signs and we'll make it really obvious. So
I love the idea of the candy cane pole.
yeah,
or
I'll make
whatever.
them.
I think that's really clever.
That's really cool. That's
So I can.
You didn't know I was Public Works and
That's-
craft organizer,
Yeah,
right?
I'll do the crafts.
Let's just add that to it.
so.
We'll make a
what
motion.
day is that scheduled?
So December 16th is our target date.
Okay.
Ted's going to check with and make sure he can get enough people for that date, but that's the date that Santa has requested.
Okay.
Santa has availability on the 16th.
Okay.
So, and then I'll go online. We do have money. The easiest time for me to raise money is for Woodland Hills Day. So I try to raise enough that I have some left over. And I had talked to Chris about it, about just putting it all in one account so that when we have these other little events, I have a little bit of money to work with. So we'll go order. Santa has requested that we order the big candy canes that we've done in the past. So I need to go online and do that. So I'll do that this week.
The actual candy cane, not the little tube with all the treats
I
in
don't
it?
know. He said the candy cane. I'll ask
I don't
him
remember us
specifics.
giving out big candy canes before. It's always the tube.
Yeah.
We did. Oh, yeah, the candy canes with.
But they
maybe-
come
all
out
the stuff
pricey,
in
so I
them.
think if you can order them like in bulk online, we can save some money. And so that's what I need to do, is I need to do that instead of running to Walmart last minute and trying to gather them and paying way too much money for them, so.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And kids love it, and another thing is they love the idea of the different candy canes, the filling in the middle, because the kids who are nut intolerant don't want to have the, Reese's whatever in it, and so.
Yeah, last year we kind of just had whatever we could find, so.
But it was good because the elves were asked, can you have peanuts? Or and here was the Mike and Ike one. And I
Yeah.
thought that, I got feedback on that they really appreciated that their kid didn't have to be left out because of their nut allergy.
We can make sure there's a good variety. So, yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Malkovich.
Newsletter, while we're in, all of you know, why it's election season, Janet has been posting the newsletters and she has another week or so and so that's been fine, and we've been able to still have some newsletters, but being able to make sure there's a distinction there.
But I don't really have access to the program, so it's kind of tricky
So-
for me to do much.
Emergency management, of course, there's, I go to a lot of different things on the county level. Finally, all the cities signed the agreement for Everbridge, so we're very thrilled with that as a county. And to be able to have that in place, we were grateful that we were one of the first ones to get that in place, but that is an issue. I came right here from the state EOC. So I sit on the state EOC and Department of Emergency Management. And so came right from our meetings. We had meetings all day today. And one of the things that came out of that is asking, with regards to disaster administrative law, administrative disaster law, which is very, very small niche of lawyers that can do this. And I said, oh, my mayor will love this. He loves lawyer stuff. And one of the things that it comes up as we get more and more disasters is that municipal attorneys don't know disaster law. And so trying to cover ourselves legally, like when we're writing our CEMP, we really don't know that administrative law that FEMA has and everything else. So one of the things that we're going to maybe work on from a state level to help us is having someone either designated from the AG's office or someone who is legal counsel for the Department of Emergency Management, that every city would be able to call and say, is this, get in there? Or a county would be able to call, or the state agencies would be able to call someone who actually knows that, but just is a state employee that we would have access So I think that it'll probably be a few years before that happens, but at least it's a start. And I think it would help all of us who are writing our CEMPs wondering, are we in compliance with FEMA, but also are we covered legally? So
Right. So, and I would hope that the county has at least vetted that some. Yeah,
no, it's
that
a
would be
brand
great
new
resource.
idea today. That county doesn't even know about it yet. So that's one of the things that we talked about. And then we're going to have our public safety meeting coming up. Is that the 20th, Darrell? 20th? That we
Yes.
decided finally?
Monday.
And so we're going to be talking about some future evacuation drills and things like that after the snow melts and, whatnot. But the committee will, the council, Public Safety Council, I guess is our name, we'll discuss that and each person's role in that.
Okay, great. Councilmember Pratt?
Nothing to report. We have not met.
Thank you. And just the one change in personnel. There he is, sitting there.
But not approved yet.
Yeah, well, sort of approved, kind of approved, but
So I have a question with personnel then. So 2 times tonight, we've talked about assistants, one for Ted and one for Jody. How realistic is that we can, 1, afford them, and 2, that we can find someone to fill the spot for what we can afford?
well, here's the beauty, I think, with Ted is that Ted has tapped into, I think, a lot of potential talent that we might be able to recruit. So,
But
I
can we
think that-
afford them?
well, I mean, if you recall, we did offer Corbett the position. What was
We
the
had it
title?
in our budget.
Like-
Yeah, so
Superintendent.
we have the
It's
money
already in
for
our
it,
budget.
and yeah, so I don't think there'll be any issue there. And we also had budgeted, we had a deputy recorder, so that should be budgeted
Should
for
be
as
good.
well. So none of these are, I mean, with the deputy recorder, and, I think that Jody deserves a big thanks. She's basically filled
Absorbed
the
it.
gaps, yeah, and, but yeah, as a longer term strategy.
It's not sustainable for her.
Right, no, I mean, it's something that we do need to revisit. Here's the thing, is that none of, I mean, every time something seems to go well around here, it's so short-lived, and then within 3 days, there's a new fire that we have to deal with, and so it's just one of those things about trying to give all these
Right.
things the due attention.
Well, and
Mike
to your
saying we were
point,
drama-free just made me chuckle inside.
to your point though, that Ted knows a lot of people who may or may not be interested in driving up here every day and doing that job. Jody
Left.
knows people, but not necessarily people who want to work for the city. Or is there another enticement, Jody, that you think would get the right person to apply for the job of deputy recorder? Is there anything else besides what we already have in that job description? Because we haven't had anyone apply.
Right, well, and then the one person that did accept, or we did get. she
Well,
was
part of the
super-
problem we
She
have,
got poached.
one, we haven't put it out because our building has drastically decreased. We've also been through a transition period and trying just to figure things out. So it has not been advertised. We have not done that. Lori and I felt right now we could handle it, what's going on. I think come spring, maybe come March, we can revisit it. But you're talking about an entry level position where most people are going to have to come up and down the mountain. A lot of people do not want to travel up and down the mountain. There's also the concern that what is discussed needs to be kept confidential, and too often not everyone understands that, and so they go out and they talk about it amongst their friends, and there's just certain things that can't be discussed if you're in a city position, and it can be hard at times. So
Especially if they live somewhere else and think that, oh, well, I'm not talking.
I don't even think it has to do with living with somewhere else. It just is.
Not as high level of a position.
It's not as high a level position. And so you, as staff, you have to be careful what you discuss around someone as well. And so, there's a confidentiality and not everyone understands that, unfortunately.
Yeah, so, and I mean, it's definitely something that we will continue to look at and, I mean, I try to be attentive to if Jody's got concerns or, if there's a need. I would hope that it would not be something that I have a blind spot towards. So, certainly working toward that end is an objective. So, but yeah, fair point, fair question. All right, well, then possible items for upcoming city council meetings, talk about the one, town hall. Anybody else have anything?
So I was finally able to meet with Don Selby and his wife about the fire escape there that heads down towards the salt shed.
Okay,
I was able to meet with them, talk over it, look at it, see what the plats were saying, all of those types of things. So if we could add that to the next council meeting, that'd be great.
yeah, so I mean, I know that we talked about a few solutions. Can you refresh my memory as to?
Well, I'm actually can't remember exactly what we decided on either. So the sign is still there that's pointing towards emergency exit, right? He's actually okay with some potential options. His biggest concern, as is his wife, is the liability he currently holds, because that's not a platted fire escape. It's not on any maps. It's just right now, it's his backyard that has a road that people drive on. His primary concern is winter, with all the kids that are sledding down it, and what happens if one of them gets hurt.
Right.
Currently, per his home insurance and his legal advisors say he holds that liability.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I would rather it become, fully official with a gate that is just like the Maple, the upper Maple court exit that can be locked and will be opened at point of need. But really right now, it's very similar to they came and visited with us a few months ago.
The one on the other side of town.
Yeah, what's the
Yeah,
Shantos?
Shanto.
It's a similar situation there, right? It's becoming a trail. It's becoming a public utility almost. And that's their concern.
Yeah, I think that they talked to me too, and as people are riding their horses, well, we've always ridden our horse on this road, and we now they're going through people's backyard because we've always done that, but we have more homes being built, and they don't recognize that that's private property, not just the mountain.
Well, I had to argue that with Shantos because they're like, well, I did that when I was a little kid. And I said, well, it's private property now.
Right. So maybe we should address all of the emergency exits and what we can do and not just each one individually.
Well, I think this one may be just a slight difference, and obviously it's not on the agenda, so we can't go hash out of it too much, but it's not a city fire escape.
No.
Now, it's been that way. There's all of that argument, but that's why I want it on the next agenda.
So forgive me for being this simplistic, but is it just a matter of pulling in a sign?
There needs to be one step further than that. So either allowing him to shut it completely down,
Which
turning it off.
It's his private property, so that's a no-brainer.
He's been told in the past that he was not legally allowed to do so.
The city kind of had it, and just
So,
like with Chantel's.
But also, to answer your question, really, he wants direction and he wants to do it the right way. And hence he would like it to be on the agenda.
Yeah.
It's not drivable, that's for sure.
Well, and yeah, I'm sure there's reasons why it was set up the way it was, but yeah, I mean, it sounds
Well,
like
we only
it's.
had Woodland Hills Drive, we didn't have Willow Reed, we didn't have Summit Creek, so
Right.
when Woodland Hills Drive was our only exit, that's why we picked those 3 other spots, we didn't even pick where the Shantos is, because we didn't have the city there, we just picked the 2 off of Maple as our going down to Davis at the time, and then we added in as we built the other one.
So Jody, will you get that on next agenda?
And can we get an update on the cameras?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we have an update. I mean, are you talking future council meetings or?
Or just right now? Do we have a second, Jody? You gave it to me a little bit, but
So we've got the cameras. However, prior to this meeting, I went online and for some reason, the cameras at the tank are offline. So I have gone ahead and sent Brad, who's installing the cameras, a message and asked him why they're offline. Hopefully, we'll get more information by tomorrow.
What was that?
he said, I guess I should have shot him when I was up there.
With paintballs or?
Something illegal, I'm sure.
Right. Okay, well, does that?
But they're installed at the tank and where else?
They're installed at the tank, and we have ones installed here at the city center. There's a couple more locations where they're supposed to be installed. We need to probably discuss those locations and
So maybe we need to discuss.
maybe coordinate
Yeah, I
with
would put that on the agenda because there is one question that I've been getting, and there is some conspiracy theories out there, not just in our city, but nationally about cities who have cameras. And that there's surveillance cities, or what is being termed a smart city. And that these cameras collect
Vineyard,
all.
that's not-
It's not new, but
The
it's,
mayor ordered that up.
it's not new as a national discussion, but
It
it's
just
more
fits in
new.
with my whole.
But it's more
dark
new
persona.
to Woodland Hills, right? As, okay, we heard that the city's established these cameras and you're gonna pick up on all of this information about us. And I said, so what I have said is, have you ever used the camera at the fire station before you leave work to see how the road is coming home? Every time. Are you okay with the cameras that are at the water tanks protecting your source of water? Well, absolutely. I said, that's surveillance, but it's not what you're saying it is. This is the ability for the city to provide you information or to protect you, but it's only on public property, no private property for us as a city. Now, individuals can have their own camera systems on their own property. That's their right, a Ring doorbell or whatever, right? But I just want to dispel it right now that we are not the surveillance smart city that some people have been telling them we are.
Right, yeah, no, I don't think there, I mean, so here's my concern, if we make it a council agenda, I would like to get these cameras up. I think we've actually made good progress, and again, thanks to Jody for spearheading the effort. I would like to get them installed before
As
the
soon
snow
as
sets in.
possible.
And then we're putting it off for a whole another season, and so, I mean, I can understand, the concerns. I mean, I'm not inclined to stop the effort, though. I mean, maybe we can just address that through
I
conversation.
guess what I'm saying is that's been concerns, but I don't think it has anything to do with addressing, I don't think it needs to be on the agenda, is what
Okay.
I'm saying. It's just to let you know.
Why
that
not
if-
just put
if
something
you
on
get
our
calls
official page
it-
about the cameras and what they are and what they do?
Right,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that
Why
would
not?
be fine, because again, it's just, there are.
We may be
people
going into
who
too
are
much detail here.
trying to-
Yeah, it's
trying
too
to-
much hashing.
But our citizens appreciate that camera, especially for snow and.
Yeah, and
snow,
it's been down. I've had citizens tell me,
Mhm.
is it back up now?
Is it back up and? No,
Okay.
not yet,
We're
but
still
that
looking
last
for-
Just-
snowstorm, a
they
lot of
know.
people were like,
Should I
"Where
give
is
y'all
it?"
access to my Vivint camera on my driveway and you
Yes,
can see what's
please.
going on?
Yes, please.
'Cause that's what I look at when I'm heading home.
Me too.
Get
Jody, were you gonna
put
say
that in
something?
the city.
We need to be careful
City
too, because some of these cameras we're discussing them. We may not want the general public to know where we
I
have
was
some of
gonna
these cameras.
Actually, with that.
Well,
And
that's
so,
true.
Water tower.
Well, not exact placement or anything, of course.
okay, well.
There's a big sign that says
Thanks
you're
for,
on camera.
it's what?
There's a big sign at the water tower that says you're on camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay, well, so thank you for bringing that up. So
We'll cross that
again,
off the list.
I would like to,
No, you're
I'd
good.
like to have these cameras installed before the snow sets in, and hopefully we can overcome some of these hiccups. Okay, well, why don't we take a quick break, reconvene at 8:45, and then hopefully have a fairly rapid end. Sorry, Don't mean to interrupt.
I was telling stories.
Did you get a finish it?
Nope,
Oh, okay.
we almost hit it. Anyway, they were coming down, I was going, we lost control, yeah. We were.
Her Jeep is
You're
cool.
playing chicken in the sand. Oh my gosh.
I'm intrigued. Okay, we'll call the council meeting to order. Councilmember Hilliard, if you would lead us or offer our invocation, and then Councilmember Pratt, if you.
Our dear Father in heaven, we are so very grateful to gather at the city council meeting to discuss this business of the city. We're so very grateful for this wonderful city that we live, for its beauty, for its diversity, for its wonderful place to call home. We're grateful for the wonderful people that work for us, our staff for their sacrifices and their dedication to making this the best city that they can. We pray that thou wilt bless us and guide us as elected officials, that we may be able to do that which is in the best interest for our city and its residents. We're so very grateful for all that thou hast given us and blessed us, and we say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, public comments. Public comments. And, oh, Jody.
Okay, I'll go ahead and say it. As you're giving consideration to the Three Bridges development, and I know that the individuals on Maple Court want to do away with that access, just remember that that is an emergency access for 480 other homes, and it could serve as a emergency access for whoever is living in the Three Bridges area. So there's more people to consider than just those 40 homes.
When I talked to them, they didn't seem that was going to be a concern.
All right, thanks, Jody. Doesn't look like anybody is, nobody online, right? Okay. All right, then we'll close the public comment portion of our meeting and move on to item 17, City Council meeting minutes, September 26, 2023.
I'll make a motion to pass the entire consent agenda.
Okay.
Motion by Councilmember Hilliard, we pass item 17.
Aye.
Right. Item 20, motion authorizing the mayor to sign a multi-jurisdictional automatic aid, mutual aid, fire training, emergency medical, and other services agreement. That's a mouthful.
I move that we
You gotta read
authorize
the
you
thing.
to sign that.
And I'll
That
second
thing.
it. I'll second it.
Okay, a motion by Councilmember Kinnison, seconded by Councilmember Malkovich. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. 21, request to modify driveway of Dylan and Becca Dewey, 676 Sky Lake.
I motion to modify the driveway.
Okay, a motion by Councilmember Malkovich.
Well, we're not modifying the driveway, we're
Mo-
granting
yeah.
a variance.
The
for the
modification
driveway.
of the
Granting
standards.
a modification.
Modification of the standards. Yeah.
I will second her motion.
Okay, so seconded by
And I recluse myself, or whatever that word is. Recuse myself.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 2023-33, appointing Ted Mickelson as the City Public Works Director, Water Superintendent, Street Superintendent, Building Official, and Craft Czar. I'm going to throw that one.
Yeah.
I will move to approve that.
Okay, the crowds are is obviously a joke, so you're moving to approve as written.
I'll second Dave's motion.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Pratt, seconded by Councilmember Kinnison. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is this a resolution? Do we have to do it individual or is it at all?
No, resolutions
Just
are
ordinance.
not.
I'm-
Ordinances are
Yep.
individual.
No, yeah, but the next one is a roll
Yeah.
call.
I just couldn't remember.
Okay, that motion carries. Item 23, ordinance 2023-16, establishing the 2024 City Council meeting schedule.
I move to approve that.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Pratt, seconded by Councilmember Malkovich. Councilmember Lund? Councilmember Kinnison?
Yes.
Councilmember Pratt?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilliard?
Yes.
Councilmember Malkovich?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. No large purchases, so no vote needed there. Closed session.
You have any legal updates?
I mean, well, I mean, this is public record, so the Adams did get their permanent certificate of occupancy.
Oh.
So I think that's a
Great.
great development.
Celebrate.
So,
Yay.
well done for all those who were involved, and I think it's a very positive move and a long time in coming. Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, so if there's no need for a closed session, then we can get a motion to adjourn.
We adjourn.
A motion by Councilmember Kinnison.
I'll second it.
No, I will
Councilmember
second that.
Lund. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
Okay, what